Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. The Demon Clan signed in and I became an invincible boss. Chapter 61. At this moment, looking at everyone's excited expressions, Yi Xingqian said aloud. Today, all the seniors have returned to their true origins, broken through to the immortal Emperor realm, and made our demon race become a superpower. Congratulations. I am happy today. I have gifts for everyone. Hearing Yi Xingqian's words, everyone below suddenly showed surprise. They had all seen Yi Xingqian's gift, and it would be fine if they didn't use it, but if they did, it would be absolutely extraordinary. Therefore, everyone looked at Yi Xingqian with surprise and expectation in their eyes. As soon as he finished speaking, Yi Xingqian waved his hand, and a scene that shocked everyone below appeared. Everyone involuntarily said in their hearts, "Sure enough, Emperor Zun's gift is anything but simple." At this moment, hundreds of bottles made of top-quality spiritual stones appeared in front of everyone, and Yi Xingqian's voice came next. Everyone should have drank this top-quality divine wine. It tastes pretty good, but the dosage is extremely high. You all know its effects. 100 bottles per person as a gift from me to everyone. Looking at the hundreds of bottles of top-quality wine in front of them, everyone swallowed involuntarily, and their eyes exuded a fiery meaning. They are all good drinkers. After drinking the best divine wine once, drinking the wine brewed by the Demon Clan is simply the same as the same thing. Therefore, they have always been obsessed with the best divine wine, and they know the value of the best divine wine. They never thought that Emperor Zun would actually give it to them today, 100 bottles each. Everyone's eyes are full of excitement and heat. This is a divine wine that is comparable to a 6th-grade elixir in every sip. As if he could see the thoughts of these powerful Demon Clan men, Yi Xingqian waved his hand again, turned to look at his gentle face, Luo Qingxian, and said softly, "Madam, there are 2 million bottles of the best divine wine here. It is used as a welfare for our demon tribe. Every festival and celebration, we take it out for the tribe to drink." The next moment, the entire Empress Palace exclaimed. Everyone looked at the densely packed top-quality wine in front of them, their eyes widened, and they said, "His breathing sound." The scene was simply spectacular. Luo Qingxian looked at Yi Xingqian with shock, and asked a little uncertainly, "Husband, so much, are you giving it to the Demon Clan disciples as a benefit? Is it too much?" Hearing Luo Qingxian's somewhat excited words, Yi Xingqian smiled slightly and said softly, "Haha, don't worry, madam. My husband still has it here. 2 million bottles is not a lot. Madam can arrange it as you like. Now our Demon Clan has gained dozens more powerful immortal emperors, making our Demon Clan become a superpower. This is something worthy of celebration by the whole clan. I can arrange it as I please." Hearing Yi Xingqian's words, Luo Qingxian glanced at her husband charmingly, then waved her hand and put away the 2 million top-quality wine. Seeing that the Empress had put away 2 million bottles of the best divine wine, the people below were no longer humble and put away the 100 bottles of divine wine in front of them with excitement on their faces. If they drink sparingly, these 100 bottles of divine wine will be enough for them to drink for a long time. At this time, their eyes looked at Yi Xingqian, full of gratitude. After seeing everyone put away the best wine, Luo Qingxian curiously asked, "Husband, what is the divine spring of life that the seniors were given just now?" Hearing the queen's question, the people below also raised their heads. They were also extremely curious, but they were afraid that this divine object was the emperor's secret, so they did not ask. After all of them know that their emperor has always been mysterious. On the surface, he appears to be in the innate realm, but in fact, his true strength is unfathomable. Just from the astonishing momentum that Emperor Zun radiated, towering over everyone, sweeping across the world, and sweeping all directions, they had the urge to worship him. How can this be radiated from the Shantian realm? But since Emperor Zun likes to be mysterious, it is even harder for them to ask out loud. At this moment, when they heard the Empress asking questions, they all involuntarily raised their heads with curiosity on their faces. Hearing Luo Qingxian's question, Yi Xingqian smiled slightly and said, "What you seniors took just now is the divine spring of life. After taking it, you can return to your origin, treat serious injuries, and extend your life. 1 drop can extend your life by 50 years. It is a rare and top-quality divine item." Everyone was shocked when they heard Yi Xingqian's words. One drop can extend life by 50 years and can also treat serious injuries. It is indeed a top-notch divine item. Seeing everyone's surprised expressions, Yi Xingchen then said, "Didn't Shangqing Palace possess the life extension pill and give us a war warning for the demon clan? I took it and used this spring of life to completely defeat Shangqing Palace's confidence. Let's see what Wangfu's expression will be like if he doesn't pay his respects." Everyone was shocked when they heard Yi Xingchen's words, and Luo Qingshan even said directly, "Husband, this kind of divine water is too precious. One drop can extend your life for 50 years and can also cure original wounds. The life-extending pill from Shangqing Palace is simply incomparable. Isn't it too wasteful?" Hearing Luo Qingshan's words, Yi Xingchen smiled slightly and said domineeringly, "Since my husband has accepted this battle post, I will not use rubbish like the life extension pill to fight, otherwise it would be too disrespectful of my status as an emperor. And it's either don't fight. Since you want to fight, my husband must fight and knock down the Shangqing Palace from the altar, so that all the forces in Shenhuang will understand that compared to the demon clan, his Shangqing Palace is just a joke." At this moment, all the demon clan members in the Queen's Palace were shocked when they heard Yi Xingchen's domineering voice, and looked at Yi Xingchen with eyes full of admiration. With such a domineering emperor, why would the demon clan not be prosperous? Looking at Luo Qingshan, Yi Xingchen then said, "Tomorrow, my husband will go to the Wandan Pavilion. My wife will immediately let people spread the news. The demon clan Wandan Pavilion will hold an auction of sacred objects that can extend life for 50 years and 7 days. There will definitely be many forces coming by then. My husband wants to see if the Shenhuang forces can endure it. Through this auction, I will let all the Shenhuang forces understand that the Shangqing Palace is just a big joke." Hearing Yi Xingchen's words, Luo Qingshan hurriedly said, "Husband, Shen'er is accompanying your husband. We just happened to accompany him to visit the human territory." Hearing Luo Qingshan's anxious voice, Yi Xingchen smiled slightly and said, "Okay, let's go to the human race together as husband and wife. In addition, let all the powerful immortal emperors of the demon clan go to Wandan Pavilion together. It is also time for all the forces in Shenhuang to feel the power of the demon clan." Upon hearing Yi Xingchen's words, the eyes of all the powerful demon clan members lit up and excitement appeared on their faces. The demon clan has not been so proud for many years. This time it will definitely surprise all the forces. Great Elder, immediately send your disciples to spread the news. Within 1 day, I will make the entire Shenhuang and all the forces hear about the monster clan auction. In addition, all seniors, now that you have successfully advanced to the immortal emperor realm, you will be directly promoted to the status of the ancestor of the demon clan. This emperor will issue a decree and notify the entire clan. Every ancestor immediately received my order from the emperor and went to the ancestral land to join the other ancestors of the demon clan. Today, we will go to Wandan Pavilion to prevent anyone from disgustingly destroying it. If found, we will directly suppress it. It is time for the demon clan to show its edge." Luo Qingshan now regained the domineering power that an empress should have, and spoke majestically to all the monsters below. "I will obey the empress decree. I will obey the empress decree." After hearing Luo Qingshan's words, all the demon clan members clasped their hands in fists, bowed and saluted, and quickly turned around and left. Seeing the disappearing figure of the demon clan strongman, Yi Xingchen took Luo Qingshan's hand and looked at each other. At this moment, the hearts between the two became closer and closer. A big tree called love grows taller and more prosperous in the hearts of two people. Early the next morning, Yi Xingchen and Luo Qingshan got up early. Because they were going to Wandan Pavilion today, they didn't have any fun as usual. Luo Qingshan also wanted to arrange some things for the demon clan. After asking Yi Xingchen to wait for him in Fengqi Palace, he flew towards the Empress Palace. Seeing Luo Qingshan's disappearing back, Yi Xingchen smiled slightly, came to the window, looked at the beautiful scenery outside the window, and thought to himself, "I just took this opportunity to sign in for today's system and see what rewards the system can give me today." Thinking of this, Yi Xingchen said directly to the system, "System, check-in starts today." As soon as Yi Xingchen finished speaking, the system's pleasant sign-in sound sounded in Yi Xingchen's ears. "Ding, the system is signing in. The sign-in is successful. Congratulations to the host for getting the reward. 1 million bottles of the best wine, which has been stored in the system space for the host. Ding, the system is signing in. The sign-in is successful. Congratulations to the host for getting the reward, a Tiangong secret treasure. A secret treasure of heavenly craftsmanship, made by an ancient supreme being. After using it, you can choose to build a magnificent palace attic in a designated location instantly. Its defensive power is comparable to that of an immortal weapon. Since only a very small number has been handed down, it is a rare and top-notch product. Secret treasure. Ding, the system is signing in. The sign-in is successful. Congratulations to the host for getting the reward, the delusion-breaking eye. The illusion-breaking divine eye, after the host is fused, can detect all cause and effect and destroy all illusions. In front of this divine eye, everything returns to its essence, and any hidden means will have no effect. At this moment, Yi Xingqian, who was standing by the window, was extremely excited as he listened to a series of pleasant sounds coming from the system. Although he is now the supreme power in the heavenly emperor realm, every time he receives a system reward, Yi Xingqian can feel filled with emotion. He is worthy of the system, and he is the king of the system every time he makes a move. Looking at the extra million bottles of top-quality wine in the system space, Yi Xingqian raised his lips slightly. This system was so considerate. Knowing that his top-quality wine was almost gone, he immediately rewarded himself with 1 million bottles. With a happy look on his face, Yi Xingqian took out the Tiangong secret treasure from the system space and observed it carefully. Discovering that the secret treasure of Tiangong was only the size of a palm, it was dark golden in color, but emitted a crystal-clear light like jade. Yi Xingqian was curious and couldn't help but ask the system. System, after using this Tiangong secret treasure, can it be recovered? As soon as Yi Xingqian finished speaking, the system's voice came from Yi Xingqian's mind. Ding, please pay attention to the host. The Tiangong secret treasure is a top-grade secret treasure. Very few have been handed down. It cannot be taken back after use. Please choose the host carefully and use the location of the Tiangong secret treasure. Hearing the sound of the system, Yi Xingqian gave up the idea of using the Tiangong secret treasure at this time, and carefully received this extremely rare Tiangong secret treasure into the system space. Then he spoke to the system and said, System, fusion of the delusion-destroying divine eyes. Ding, the God-breaking eyes are being fused, and the fusion is successful. Because the host is the chaos body of the great Tao, and its luck is against the heavens. The fusion degree reaches 100%, and all the wonders of the God-breaking eyes can be fully exerted. The system's voice just finished. Yi Xingqian felt a strange energy flash through his eyes. It was not as painful as he imagined, but instead there was a sense of comfort. And in his mind, many wonders about how to use the delusion divine eyes also appeared in Yi Xingqian's mind. Yi Xingqian slowly opened his eyes, and his eyes suddenly exuded a shocking power, and Yi Xingqian's eyes also turned golden. At this time, the world in Yi Xingqian's eyes has undergone tremendous changes. The laws of heaven have materialized, and the spirit of the immortals is within reach. Even the demon formations and demon immortal veins that were originally hidden in the void and underground appeared clearly in Yi Xingqian's eyes. Even the guards of the Empress Palace showed their cultivation in the heavenly immortal realm in Yi Xingqian's eyes. Even from such a distance, Yi Xingqian could still see them very clearly. At this time, Yi Xingqian seemed to have a clairvoyant eye. As the system said, everything returned to its essence, and any hidden method was a joke in front of the delusion eye. Nodding with satisfaction, Yi Xingqian slowly closed his eyes. When he opened his eyes again, the golden color in his eyes completely disappeared. As long as Yi Xingqian thinks about it, a thought can open the delusion-breaking eyes at any time, and as long as Yi Xingqian doesn't think about it, his eyes will not turn golden. The scene turned to the Shangqing Palace. Wangfu Bubai listened to the report of the elder below with a majestic look on his face. A smile slowly appeared on his face. Finally, he couldn't help but slap the armrest of the chair and laughed loudly. Ha ha ha, ha ha ha, good. Good. The demon clan is actually going to auction a divine item that can extend lifespan by 50 years in 7 days, and there are a lot of them. This is simply a big joke. HMPH, there are indeed magical objects in the entire Shenhuang continent that can extend lifespan. I admit it, but they are things that can only be found but not sought. Only the life-extending pill from our Shangqing Palace is the most common life-extending pill. Although the price is higher, it does exist. Hearing Wang Fu's words of refusal, a white-haired old man below stood up and said, Palace Master, since the demon clan dares to release the news, it will never be without reason. This matter is related to the demon clan's face. That little girl Luo Qingshan is not a brainless person. I think she must have such a magical object. Quote. After hearing the words of the white-haired old man below, Wang Fu Bubai nodded slightly. What Elder Bai said is true. Luo Qingshan will never make a mistake. It concerns the face of the demon clan. When all the forces go forward, if the demon clan cannot take out this magical object, it will not be a matter of face. It will directly destroy the entire divine wilderness. If the power offends, Luo Qingshan will not make such a decision. However, I speculate that there must be this divine object, but the number will never be large. Luo Qingshan's purpose is definitely to exchange this divine object for life-extending pills from major forces, so as to temporarily solve the shortage of life-extending pills. Question. This kind of life-extending divine item is rare. Since it can extend life for 50 years, if I refine it into a pill, the effect will be even more powerful. Even extending life for 100 years is not a problem. It is even possible for me to do so, breaking through to the realm of a 9th-grade alchemist. Hearing Wang Fu's words of refusal, Elder Bai's eyes lit up and he said, What does the palace master mean? HMPH. This girl, Luo Qingshan, is probably waiting for me to go now. Luo Qingshan must know that such a divine thing, as an 8th-grade alchemist, I will not miss. In this case, I just like her wish, so what if she goes there? If Luo Qingshan can hand over this divine object, this emperor can also give some life-extending pills to the demon clan. By then, I will advance to the 9th level and rule the world. A demon clan will not care. At this moment, Wang Fu didn't bow, his eyes exuded a shocking meaning, and the corners of his mouth were slightly raised, as if everything was under his control. Elder Bai, let me know. In 7 days, I will personally take people to Wandan Pavilion. I want to see what Luo Qingshan will do. Should I hand over the divine object obediently, or should I linger and fight stubbornly? No matter what, it is related to my advancement to the 9th level. I must get the divine object. I want to see who can compete with the Shangqing Palace. Quote. Hearing Wang Fu's voice of not bowing, Elder Bai immediately bowed in response. According to ancient legend in Shenhuang, a 9th-grade alchemist can dominate the world. If the palace master really becomes a 9th-grade alchemist, more powerful people will definitely follow and join. By then, Shangqing Palace will definitely take another step forward and completely become a real superpower, on an equal footing with those real hidden giants in the Holy Land. From now on, there is no need to hand over so much top-quality spiritual energy to that force every year. At this moment, not only the Shangqing Palace is discussing this matter, but also all the major forces in the entire Shenhuang continent are discussing this matter. No one will be tempted by the divine object that can extend life for 50 years. There are even some forces that secretly send messages to the hidden giant behind them. The entire Shenhuang was completely shocked because of Yi Xingqian's decision. At this moment, the entire Shenhuang was in complete shock because of Yi Xingqian's decision. And our protagonist, Yi Xingqian, is sitting on a huge colorful phoenix with a contented face at the moment, looking at the clouds that are retreating rapidly, with a look of surprise on his face. Looking at her husband with a surprised look on his face, Luo Qingshan raised the corners of her mouth slightly and explained softly. Husband, this is Kaifeng. It has the blood of ancient phoenixes. It is extremely intelligent and extremely fast. It is Shanur's mount. I have been practicing in the back mountain of the monster clan. I will only call Shanur when he goes out. He has an extremely gentle personality. He is also extremely powerful, equivalent to the immortal king realm of the human race. As if she understood Luo Qingshan's words, Kaifeng let out a soft cry, with joy in her eyes. Hearing Luo Qingshan's words and seeing the joy in Kaifeng's eyes, Yi Xingqian couldn't help but secretly marvel that everything has spirit, it seemed true. Husband, with Kaifeng's speed, we will arrive at Wandan Pavilion in just 1 stick of incense. We will take a short rest in Wandan Pavilion, and Shanur will accompany husband to visit the human race. Hearing Luo Qingshan's words, Yi Xingqian looked at the tenderness in Luo Qingshan's eyes, smiled slightly, and said, Okay, listen to my wife, when we are done, let's go to the human race for a walk. The scene turned to Tianji City. Dozens of white-haired old men looked at the dome in the Tianji Hall. Countless stars kept flashing across the sky. The sun and the moon continued to rotate. They were the Tianji City's clan artifact, the Tianji sky map. At this moment, dozens of white-haired old men in the immortal emperor realm were discussing something fiercely. What you said and what I said didn't look like a strong person at all. They were all blushing and thick-necked. But a middle-aged man sitting above the Tianji Hall looked at the scene below with a calm expression, as if he had long been used to it. Suddenly, the middle-aged man looked up at the sky map, his face suddenly changed, and he ducked to the center below. He raised his hand slightly, and dozens of noisy white-haired old men with red faces and thick necks fell silent instantly. Just listen to the middle-aged man say with a serious face. The Emperor Star appears, the great age is coming, the hidden world is about to emerge, and the desolate world undergoes great changes. After hearing the middle-aged man's words, dozens of white-haired old men also changed their expressions and looked up at the heavenly mystery sky map. One of the white-haired old men who had made the loudest noise just now couldn't help but let out a suspicious sound. The Emperor Star has really materialized, but why does it appear in the middle? Shouldn't the Emperor Star be located in the east of the heavenly mystery sky map? After hearing the old man's words, everyone was shocked to find that the Emperor Star, which was supposed to be in the east, actually appeared in the middle of the sky map. Everyone, including the middle-aged man, lowered his head and counted something with his fingers. After a moment, everyone looked up in surprise. The middle-aged man looked even more disbelieving. I can't figure out the reason why the Emperor Star, which is supposed to be in the east of the heavenly mystery sky map, appears in the middle. Could it be that the great emperor has covered up the heavenly secret? It's impossible. Even if there is a powerful emperor who conceals the secret of heaven, it's impossible for me to not be able to deduce it at all. Could it be that it's the way of heaven? Looking at the map of the sky, the middle-aged man was shocked and murmured to himself. Since there is a way of heaven covering the secrets of heaven, I will look at where the Emperor Star appears. After the middle-aged man finished speaking, he waved his hand casually and struck out with a palm. A terrifying power of the fairy spirit penetrated into the heaven's secret sky map, and the entire heaven's secret sky map changed instantly. It was like the heaven and earth descending, instantly magnified, and the entire Shenhuang continent appeared in front of the man's eyes. Looking at the shining stars exuding the purple imperial aura, the middle-aged man actually murmured to himself. It's actually here, at the boundary between the demon clan and the human clan. Where did the Emperor Star appear? Is it because of the demon clan's auction? The middle-aged man is none other than the top power in the divine desolate continent and the master of Tianji City, immortal Emperor Wei Tianji. Tianji City is famous for its predictions of fortune and misfortune. I heard that the forces behind it are even more powerful. It is the holy land of hidden giants, Shenji Mountain. Many forces, when searching for treasure or searching for people, will look for Tianji City to calculate the fortune and misfortune of this trip. Of course, the price is not cheap, but Tianji City's calculations are very accurate every time, and therefore the entire Shenhuang continent has great trust. Suddenly, the entire sky map emitted a ray of divine light, and then dimmed instantly, as if it had been struck by some mysterious force and lost its original light. What surprised everyone in Tianji City even more was that the location of the Emperor Star was no longer detectable, and there was not even a trace of breath left, as if it had never materialized. This scene shocked Wei Tianji and he said, as expected of the Emperor Star, it is impossible to speculate or detect. Even its location only appears for a moment and then disappears without a trace. But the Emperor Star is born. This emperor will not be wrong about this. It seems that the great age is coming, and there will be great changes in the desolate world. Let's make arrangements. In 3 days, I will go to Wandan Pavilion in person to take a look at the life-extending artifacts auctioned by the Demon Clan, and also see if I can sense the location of the Emperor Star. We in Tianji City can make plans in advance. Upon hearing Wei Tianji's words, dozens of white-haired old men below immediately bowed in response, turned around and disappeared. At this moment, Wei Tianji raised his head and looked at the heavenly secret sky map. A crystal light shone out from his eyes. With a pointer, a golden light shot into the heavenly secret sky map and disappeared. At this time, Yi Xingchen was sitting on Kaifeng, and the system's voice suddenly rang. Ding, I found that someone is deducing the secrets and calculating the location of the host. Can the host start to cover up the functions of the secrets so that no one can detect them? The system sound that suddenly appeared in Yi Xingchen's ears made Yi Xingchen slightly stunned. Someone was actually deducing the secrets and calculating his own position. It was interesting. But thinking about being watched by people wherever he went, Yi Xingchen felt uncomfortable and immediately said to the system in his heart. System, activate the concealment function immediately. As soon as Yi Xingchen finished speaking, the system's voice rang. Ding, the concealment function has been turned on. No one can guess the host. If anyone guesses the host, there will be backlash. Hearing the system's words, Yi Xingchen smiled slightly and said excitedly. System, this host loves you so much. You actually have such a function. Ding, host, please stay calm. This system is unique in all worlds. It will have all functions. The host does not need to make a fuss. Hearing the sound of the system, Yi Xingchen was speechless and said secretly. This system still has the same temper, but I like it. Ha ha. System. The next moment, Yi Xingchen felt Kaifeng falling rapidly. When he looked up, he had arrived at Wandan Pavilion. Kaifeng landed steadily, and the two of them flew down. Luo Qingshan stretched out his right hand. Kaifeng understood instantly, lowered his head, and cupped Luo Qingshan's hand affectionately, with a burst of joy in his eyes. Okay, you can return to the monster clan on your own. I and my husband will return to the monster clan on their own after a while. As if he understood Luo Qingshan's words, the colorful phoenix raised its head and cried, spreading its huge colorful wings, turning into a 9-color stream of light, shooting straight into the 9 heavens, and disappearing. In the Wandan Pavilion, the Great Elder, who had already arrived in advance, appeared in front of the Wandan Pavilion with all the people from the demon clan, and bowed to Luo Qingshan and Yi Xingchen. All the people from the demon clan looked at Yi Xingchen with incomparable admiration. Yi Xingchen smiled and greeted the great elders, which made all the people from the demon clan feel excited. Looking at the 3-story attic in front of him, and then turning to look at the tall buildings in the human territory in the distance, Yi Xingchen frowned slightly. As if he saw the reason for Yi Xingchen's frown, the elder said in a low voice. Emperor, our Wandan Pavilion was built too hastily, so. Hearing the words of the great elder, Yi Xingchen smiled slightly and said. Well, I understand, but our demon race is no worse than the human race in any aspect, and we cannot lag behind at all. Moreover, all the major forces will come to the auction held in 7 days. This Wandan Pavilion is indeed too big. You have lost your identity as a demon clan. Hearing Yi Xingchen's words, Luo Qingshan and the great elder frowned at the same time. Yi Xingchen was right. Compared with the tall buildings of the human race in the distance, the buildings of the demon race are really shabby. Seeing Luo Qingshan frown slightly, Yi Xingchen glanced with his consciousness and discovered that there was a huge open space between the human race and the demon race. People were coming and going in it, it was so lively. He couldn't help but asked, Great Elder, why are there only a few of us in Wandan Pavilion, but not far ahead? There are people coming and going, it's so lively, and there are many people from the human race and the demon race. Hearing Yi Xingchen's words, Luo Qingshan on the side smiled slightly, took Yi Xingchen's hand, and explained aloud. After hearing Luo Qingshan's words, Yi Xingchen understood the reason. Looking at the Wandan Pavilion, which was only 3 stories high, Yi Xingchen said something that shocked everyone. At this moment, after hearing Luo Qingshan's explanation, Yi Xingchen understood why there was no one else in Wandan Pavilion. It turns out that there is a huge open space between the demon race and the human race, which was originally used to distinguish the territory of the human race and the demon race. Later, as time went by, this huge open space became a place for trade between humans and monsters, and the population increased. Because this place is close to the territory of the demon clan, various resources are abundant, and the prices are cheap, so more and more people from the human race come to purchase, and it has slowly developed into a bustling small town. Of course, there are also human beings who enter the territory of the demon clan, looking for spiritual herbs, elixirs, and various rare and exotic fruits. As long as they do not enter the core area of the demon clan without permission, the demon clan will not care. This is also the reason why people from the demon race can enter the human race territory at will. However, the Wandan Pavilion was originally crowded with people, and there was an endless stream of people who came to buy elixirs every day. However, due to the Shengqing Palace, no force or individual came to buy the elixirs refined by the demon clan, for fear of offending. He went to the Shengqing Palace, so he could not get the longevity pill. Ever since the news came out yesterday from the monster clan that the artifact that can extend lifespan by 50 years will be auctioned in 7 days, many people want to come to Wandan Pavilion, but they are told that the auction will only take place in 7 days. You can come to Wandan Pavilion. Therefore, the only people in Wandan Pavilion now are members of the demon clan. After knowing this, Yi Xingqian's eyes lit up. Maybe he could take this opportunity to make a change. Have all the ancestors arrived? Yi Xingqian asked the Great Elder. After hearing Yi Xingqian's words, the Great Elder immediately bowed and said, "To the Emperor, all the ancestors have come and have been hiding in the depths of the void. They can appear at any time as long as the Emperor and the Empress give orders." Hearing the Great Elder's words, Yi Xingqian smiled slightly and turned to look at Luo Qingshan. When he realized that Luo Qingshan was looking at the tall and blurry buildings in the distance with a frown, his heart suddenly moved. He took Luo Qingshan's hand and gave Luo Qingshan a gentle smile. Then he looked at the 3-story Wandan Pavilion and said something that shocked everyone around him. "Great Elder, please put away all the elixirs and items in the Wandan Pavilion. This building is an eyesore to me. Such a building cannot represent the face of the demon clan, and I want to demolish it." Hearing Yi Xingqian's words, the Great Elder and the demon clan disciples around him were all shocked. Luo Qingshan beside Yi Xingqian had a smile on his face. Seeing everyone's reactions, Yi Xingqian turned to look at Luo Qingshan, only to find that Luo Qingshan was looking at him tenderly and couldn't help but smile and said, "My husband is going to demolish this Wandan Pavilion, how come I'm not shocked at all?" Hearing her husband's question, Luo Qingshan's smile grew stronger and she said softly, "Shanur believes in my husband. If my husband wants to dismantle it, he must find a way, and he will not let the major forces in Shenhuang make fun of him." At this moment, after hearing Luo Qingshan's words, the surrounding demon clan people reacted instantly. Yes, why have they forgotten who Emperor Zun is? This is a man that all of them admire. No matter what happened, Emperor Zun spoke that time and never did it. As expected, it is the Empress who knows Emperor Zun best. Thinking of this, the Great Elder did not stay any longer and disappeared directly. After a moment, the Great Elder appeared, bowed to Yi Xingqian and said, "Emperor, all the elixirs have been received in the storage ring." "Okay, thank you for your hard work, Elder." After Yi Xingqian finished speaking, he waved his hand, and a scene that shocked everyone appeared. The Wandan Pavilion, which was in front of everyone just now, disappeared in an instant, as if it had never appeared before. Yi Xingqian just took the Wandan Pavilion into the system space casually, ignoring everyone's shocked looks, because Yi Xingqian knew that something that would shock them even more was about to happen. Yi Xingqian turned to Luo Qingshan, smiled tenderly, and said, "Madam, my husband is performing a trick on you, please don't be shocked. I'm sure you will like it." After Yi Xingqian finished speaking, he winked at Luo Qingshan, causing Luo Qingshan to roll his eyes. The next moment, Yi Xingqian said directly to the system, "System, use the secret treasure of Tiangong." Ding, the secret treasure of Tiangong is in use. Please choose the designated location and name it. Hearing the sound of the system, Yi Xingqian pointed in the direction of the Wandan Pavilion and said, "Wandan Pavilion." As soon as Yi Xingqian finished speaking, a piece of information entered Yi Xingqian's mind, which was complete information about the palace that was about to appear. There was a loud boom, and the ground shook, shocking everyone. A magnificent golden palace rises from the ground. Above the palace, giant dragons surround it and phoenixes fly, exuding a faint coercion. The entire palace is about 9 stories high, covers an extremely large area, and is shining with golden light. On the plaque above, the 3 golden characters of Wandan Pavilion are emitting golden light, surrounded by golden clouds, expressing eternal power. It seems to be carved by the laws of the Great Road, with endless power. Yi Xingqian looked at the gorgeous and magnificent palace in front of him, smiled slightly, and nodded with satisfaction. Thinking of the information that just entered my mind, I felt even more satisfied. It was indeed a product of the system, and all facilities were fully equipped. The ninth floor was even more luxuriously decorated. Yi Xingqian immediately made a decision in his heart. The ninth floor was where he lived with his wife and was not open to the public. With such a Wandan pavilion, one is worthy of being a member of the demon clan. Luo Qingxian and the other demon clan members opened their mouths and widened their eyes in shock when they saw the sudden scene. Although they were more or less used to it, Emperor Zun would shock them at any time, but this time, it was indeed beyond their scope of cognition. With a finger and a shout, a new and magnificent Wandan pavilion appeared. Who could not be shocked? Turning around and looking at everyone's shocked looks, Yi Xingqian smiled slightly and said to Luo Qingxian, "Madam, do you like it?" Hearing Yi Xingqian's words, Luo Qingxian came back to her senses. Her beautiful face was covered with red clouds. She threw herself into Yi Xingqian's arms with excitement and said with great joy, "I like Shan'er, my husband always surprises people." Seeing the intimate appearance of the Empress and the Emperor, everyone in the demon clan smiled, as if they had forgotten their shock. Seeing everyone's reaction, Luo Qingxian stood up from Yi Xingqian's arms with a shy look on her face, and gave her husband a charming look. Yi Xingqian looked at the figure flying in the distance and said to the Great Elder, "Great Elder, the vibration here must have attracted others' attention. Please bring someone to explain the situation. In addition, this Wandan pavilion is divided into 9 floors. The 9th floor is not open to the public. The clan members are arranged to guard it and serve as a resting place for me and the Empress. The other floors, the 8th floor, are used as a resting place for the people of the demon clan. The Great Elder can arrange it as he pleases. All the facilities and items have been fully equipped. After the Great Elder is familiar with it, let's start preparing for the auction. If any Shenhuang forces arrive early, the Great Elder can arrange for them to enter the Wandan pavilion." Then Yi Xingqian's momentum changed, a terrifying and domineering intention arose, and he said to all the monsters, "Remember, we demon clan disciples will never be bullied by others, and we do not need to bow to any force. Of course, we will not bully others. If there is anyone who deliberately causes trouble, directly suppress them. Don't be afraid of offending the other party. If anything happens, I will make the decision for you." After Yi Xingqian finished speaking, he took Luo Qing directly into the Wandan pavilion. And all the people of the monster clan, when they heard Yi Xingqian's words, were extremely excited in their hearts, and their eyes glowed with blazing light. This was the emperor of their monster clan. Domineering yet mysterious, the ancestor of the demon clan hidden in the void looked at the amazing changes below, and upon hearing Yi Xingqian's domineering words, his eyes showed a look of relief. The great ancestor's vision is indeed much higher than theirs. With this emperor, the demon clan will definitely regain its ancient glory. At this moment, the ancestor of the demon clan hidden in the void looked at the amazing changes below. Hearing Yi Xingqian's domineering words, his eyes showed relief. The great ancestor's vision is indeed much higher than theirs. Just as the great ancestor said, the ancient glory of the demon clan must bloom in Yi Xingqian. In this auction, if any person or force dares to provoke maliciously, it will be the time for the demon clan to show its strength. The scene changed, inside the Wandan pavilion. Luo Qingxian looked at the huge space in Wandan pavilion and was pleasantly surprised. The entire Wandan pavilion has a huge platform in the middle, which can be used to hold this auction. It is surrounded by halls and private rooms, which can be selected according to the different needs of the guests. The two of them reached the 9th floor all the way, and what they saw made Luo Qingxian even more surprised. The entire 9th floor is completely integrated. The interior decoration is more grand and luxurious, without losing the greenery, fresh and pleasant atmosphere, including study room, bedroom, living room and kitchen. Luo Qingxian fell in love with her at just one glance. Seeing Luo Qingxian's happy face, Yi Xingqian couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Although the system transferred the information about Wandan Pavilion into my mind in advance, when I saw the real thing, the whole room was indeed more shocked. Suddenly, a cry of surprise came from Luo Qingxian. "Husband, husband, come and see, this place is so beautiful, it's really beautiful." Hearing Luo Qingxian's words, Yi Xingqian smiled helplessly and shook his head slightly. This might be the truest side of his wife. Only in front of yourself will you reveal your truest self. For so many years, Luo Qingxian dedicated everything to the monster clan and abandoned everything she liked. Following the voice, Yi Xingqian came to the living room and saw a huge balcony. Looking at Luo Qingshan's most genuine smile, Yi Xingqian secretly swore that he would never let anyone destroy this beautiful smile. Husband, come and take a look. From here you can see the human territory and the town's not far away. I didn't expect that after so many years, this place has become more and more prosperous. The scenery has become much more beautiful. After hearing Luo Qingshan's words, Yi Xingqian came to Luo Qingshan's back, put his arms around Luo Qingshan's waist, and said softly, "She is beautiful, but the lady is even more beautiful." Hearing her husband's words, Luo Qingshan was secretly happy. Her beautiful face was instantly covered with red clouds. She raised her head and glanced at Yi Xingqian charmingly, and said shyly, "Only your husband can see the beauty of the shirt." At this moment, Luo Qingshan's words were more effective than any sweet words. Yi Xingqian almost turned into a wolf. Feeling the change in her husband, Luo Qingshan exclaimed and walked away shyly. Luo Qingshan's voice came from the air. "Husband, let's go down and arrange with the great elder what needs to be paid attention to in the past few days. Later, let's go to the town ahead for a walk." Before leaving, he did not forget to give Yi Xingqian a fierce look. There was no anger in his eyes, but he was full of tenderness. Seeing his wife shyly running away, Yi Xingqian raised the corners of his mouth slightly and his eyes were full of doting. Looking at the people leaving below the Wandan Pavilion, Yi Xingqian's consciousness swept slightly, and everyone's voices appeared in Yi Xingqian's mind. The scene changes. Below the Wandan Pavilion, the Great Elder was saying something to some people watching the excitement. After hearing the Great Elder's words, these people slowly left. Some of these people come to the town to do business and earn spiritual stones, some are spies of some forces, coming to see if there are other forces coming to the monster clan to participate in the auction, and some come to the monster clan to explore and collect them. Spiritual herbs and elixirs. These people turned back 3 times with each step, their eyes showing shock, and they talked as they walked. Did you see it? The demon clan is becoming more and more mysterious. Almost in an instant, a magnificent palace rose from the ground. If you don't see it with your own eyes, who can believe it? Yes, and Wanchenli also said that the Wandan Pavilion was given by the power of their demon clan. Did you notice that the 3 characters Wandan Pavilion on the plaque exude a faint pressure that is frightening? This Wandan Pavilion is at least an immortal treasure. Yes, the demon clan has been seeing strange phenomena from time to time recently. Moreover, some time ago, when I heard about the Empress wedding, even Dao Dao personally congratulated me. I heard from people who saw it at that time that when Dao Dao's law came, flowers fell from the sky and golden lotuses surged from the ground. Various visions of heaven and earth lasted for an hour. This is true. I was nearby at the time. That scene is still impressive to this day, but it's a pity. A young man looked back at the magnificent Wandan Pavilion and said aloud, "Yes, this kind of scene is rare in 10,000 years. I heard that people who see this scene can feel the power of the law from a distance, and their understanding of the law has deepened a lot." But what you said, what a pity. A middle-aged man next to him spoke up after hearing what the young man said. Haven't you heard of this? Nowadays, in the entire Shenhuang continent, who doesn't know that Luo Qingshan, the female empress of the demon clan and the #1 beauty in the Shenhuang continent, is actually a human whose cultivation level is only at the innate level. Now, let Luo Qingshan become a joke to the entire Shenhuang continent. Moreover, many of the geniuses of the human race who have pursued the demon empress have even announced that they will teach this person a lesson. I heard that for this reason, many forces are secretly exploring the true identity of the husband of the demon empress. The young man heard the middle-aged man ask and said a little jealously, "Such a big event has already caused a sensation in the entire divine wasteland. There must be very few people who have never heard of it. But since the empress can like someone, even Dao Dao personally congratulates him, he must have an extraordinary origin. His strength is only in the innate realm, maybe it's just a rumor." Another man with twinkling eyes spoke to the young man and the middle-aged man. "Haha, you don't know this. A friend of mine is a disciple of Xuantian sect. What he said personally was what he saw with his own eyes. I heard that this boy has an extremely handsome appearance and an even more transcendent temperament. Maybe the demon clan, it must be because of this that the empress fell in love with this son." The young man who just started speaking said mysteriously, "No way, what kind of person is the queen of the demon race? The genius of the human race who once pursued the queen of the monster race. Not only was she handsome, but she also had an outstanding temperament, and the power behind her was even more powerful. Since the queen of the monster race could choose this person, this must be one of them. There's something we don't know. Another man, hearing the conversation between this group of people, also said in a low voice. As soon as the man finished speaking, the group of people fell silent. Indeed, there must be something they don't know. Today's demon clan is becoming more and more mysterious. Just like a few days ago, first-grade elixirs suddenly began to be sold, and the quality was comparable to the second-grade elixirs from Shengqing Palace, but the price was very cheap, and they were favored by countless human forces. If the Shengqing Palace hadn't spoken out, any force could come to refine the longevity elixir, but the condition was that they could no longer buy the demon clan's elixirs. I don't know how popular the demon clan's elixirs were. Yesterday, news came out from the demon clan that they actually had a magical item that could extend their lifespan by 50 years, causing a sensation among the entire Shenhuang forces. All of this happened extremely suddenly, which made them feel that the demon clan was becoming more and more mysterious. A group of people turned around and looked at the golden palace behind them, with curiosity in their eyes. They talked and slowly disappeared. At this moment, Yi Xingqian, who was sitting on the 9th floor of Wandan Pavilion, smiled helplessly as he listened to the words of the departing person below. No matter in which world, gossip is what people like to discuss most. But one thing is clear to Yi Xingqian: those so-called geniuses must not provoke him. Otherwise, Yi Xingqian doesn't care. Those geniuses who belong to that power will be slapped to death. While thinking about this, Luo Qingxian's gentle voice came from behind. Husband, everything has been arranged. It's still early. Let's go to the town ahead for a walk. Hearing Luo Qingxian's words, Yi Xingqian looked back with a look of surprise in his eyes. At this moment, Luo Qingxian wore a white veil on her face and a red palace dress, which vividly outlined her figure and made her even more charming. At this moment, the beauty of Luo Qingxian's shirt was like the arrival of a goddess, indescribably beautiful. At this moment, after hearing Luo Qingxian's words, Yi Xingqian turned around and looked at Luo Qingxian. He was slightly startled, with a look of surprise in his eyes. At this time, Luo Qingxian wore a white veil on her face and a red palace dress, which vividly outlined her figure and made her even more charming. The beauty of Luo Qingxian's shirt is like the arrival of a goddess, indescribably beautiful. Seeing the amazement in her husband's eyes, Luo Qingxian was secretly happy, smiled charmingly, and said aloud, "Husband, what's wrong? Let's go." After hearing Luo Qingxian's words, Yi Xingqian stood up and came to Luo Qingxian's side, took her hand and said softly, "Madam, you are so beautiful." Feeling the love in Yi Xingqian's heart, Luo Qingxian smiled charmingly, rolled her eyes at Yi Xingqian, and took Yi Xingqian's arm. They talked and laughed and went downstairs, preparing to go shopping in the town ahead. All the people from the demon clan bowed and saluted when they saw the two of them. The great elder was also leading people to inspect the structure of the entire Wandan Pavilion. When he saw Luo Qingxian and Yi Xingqian coming downstairs, he immediately bowed to them. Yi Xingqian smiled slightly and said to the great elder, "Great elder, you don't have to be polite. Nowadays, the forces of Shenhuang are extremely interested in me. I don't want to be stared at every day. This is my emperor's order. From now on, if you see me in Wandan Pavilion, including the human territory, you don't need to salute. Just pretend not to know him." Hearing Yi Xingqian's words, Luo Qingxian smiled helplessly. Luo Qingxian knew her husband's character very well. At this time, when the great elder heard Yi Xingqian's words, he immediately bowed and said, "In compliance with the emperor's decree, I will send the order immediately." He easily lifted the great elder up, and looking at the busy appearance of the demon clan disciples around him, Yi Xingqian waved his hand, and hundreds of bottles of top-grade divine wine appeared in front of the great elder. "I will be very busy in the past few days. The great elder will distribute these hundreds of bottles of the best wine as rewards to the disciples." Looking at the sudden appearance of hundreds of bottles of top-grade divine wine, the demon clan disciples around them all had fiery eyes. They had all drunk this wine and knew the benefits of this wine. So when they saw Yi Xingqian taking out the best divine wine, they all looked excited and their eyes were full of fire. The great elder looked at the 100 bottles of top-quality divine wine in front of him and sighed in his heart. No wonder the emperor's reputation in the demon clan is so high. He is even more respected than the empress. It is not unreasonable. Thank you, Emperor Zun. I thank Emperor Zun for them. As soon as the great elder finished speaking, all the demon clan disciples bowed to Yi Xingchen and said, "The emperor is mighty. The emperor is mighty." Yi Xingchen smiled and asked everyone to stand up, then pulled Luo Qingshan and walked towards the distant town. Luo Qingshan looked at her smiling husband, her eyes full of tenderness. And everyone in the monster clan looked at Yi Xingchen, who was slowly disappearing, and the admiration in their eyes became even deeper. Luo Qingshan and Yi Xingchen, along the way, did not fly at high speed, but slowly enjoyed the scenery along the way, talking and laughing when they arrived at the bustling trading town. It is worthy of being the largest trading place between humans and demons. It is bustling with people coming and going, and it is not as messy as Yi Xingchen imagined. The stalls extend along both sides of the street, and the dazzling array of products is dizzying, including elixirs, fairy herbs, secret treasures, magic stones, treasure maps, etc., and the cries of various products are endless. Of course, there are many items on these stalls that are authentic and fake. It all depends on one's taste. Unlike the tall shops in front, the items sold there are more expensive, but they are absolutely authentic. Along the way, Luo Qingshan and Yi Xingchen became the most focused entities. Especially Luo Qingshan, although she was wearing a veil, her perfect grace and aura of superiority made countless people look at her. There are also many people from the demon clan. Although they can't see Luo Qingshan's appearance clearly, they are very familiar with Yi Xingchen, who is smiling next to him, with his aloof temperament and familiar face. It turned out to be their emperor, so the woman next to the emperor who exuded a peerless temperament should be their empress. When many people from the demon clan saw Yi Xingchen, they were about to bow and salute, but Yi Xingchen's gentle voice rang in their minds. "You don't need to be polite. Just do whatever you have to do. I, the emperor, and the empress have nothing to do. Come and take a look. I don't want to be disturbed." Emperor Zun's gentle voice suddenly came to his mind, causing many people from the demon clan to stop their movements instantly. Seeing Emperor Zun walking by with a smile on his face, many people from the demon clan looked at each other, put away the items on the stall, and followed Yi Xingchen and Luo Qingshan silently, guarding them faintly, in a central location. Seeing this scene, Yi Xingchen couldn't help but turn his head to look at Luo Qingshan, only to find that Luo Qingshan smiled slightly at him, and then waved casually. Many people from the demon clan who were guarding the two of them seemed to understand instantly when they saw Luo Qingshan's actions, and returned to their respective stalls, no longer following the two of them. Then a figure appeared, carrying the order of the great elder, and whispered something into the ears of the people from the demon clan, and these people quickly dispersed. After a while, all the demon clan members in the entire trading place received the order from the great elder. Anyone who sees the emperor and the empress can just pretend not to know them, and there is no need to bow before them. At this time, Luo Qingshan and Yi Xingchen came to a store called Tianbaotang. The store's exterior decoration was very unique, which instantly caught Luo Qingshan's attention. Like a little woman, she pulled Yi Xingchen into the store with a smile. There are not many people in Tianbao Hall, but compared to the stalls outside, there are a lot more items inside, including various fairy herbs, elixirs, and immortal weapons and secret treasures, and their grades are much higher than those in the stalls outside. Both of them had a transcendent temperament, especially Luo Qingshan, who was wearing a veil, which instantly attracted the attention of many young men. When they realized that Yi Xingchen was only in the innate realm, his eyes suddenly shone brightly. He wanted to step forward and get to know Luo Qingshan, but when he saw the aura of a superior person that Luo Qingshan unintentionally exuded, he instantly became silent. In the past few days, major forces have come to the trading land one after another. Although they did not live in Wandan Pavilion, they settled in the human territory. Occasionally, disciples from big forces would come to the trading place to visit and buy items. Although Luo Qingshan has an extraordinary temperament, the aura he exudes is extraordinary, and his cultivation level is even more invisible. At first glance, he is not an ordinary person. They don't want to offend the disciples of the big forces unintentionally, and they will be the unlucky ones in the end. Although some flowers look beautiful, they are not something they can touch at will. Suddenly, a charming voice sounded. Upon hearing this charming voice, everyone turned their heads to look at the voice. Mr. Lang, Zui Rao likes this tiara. Can I buy it for Zui Rao? At this time, a woman wearing a pink gauze skirt with an extremely enchanting appearance was pulling a young man with an evil look on her face and said coquettishly. The woman has a hot figure, and her whole body is full of charm, especially her lips, which are delicate and slightly upturned. Instantly attracted, many people from Tianbaotang, young and old, all looked towards the charming woman, with fiery meaning in their eyes. The young man looked at the charming woman with a coquettish face, smiled evilly, stretched out his hand to pay attention to the woman's waist, and said, "Since Zui Rao likes it so much and can make the beauty smile, I will buy it and give it to Zui Rao." After speaking, he raised his other hand, gently raised the woman's chin, and said with a wicked smile, "I hate." Seeing the man's actions, the woman named Zui Rao said coquettishly. The woman's act of coquettishness made the man with an evil smile laugh even more wildly. Yi Xingchen only glanced at her before pulling Luo Qingshan towards the counter next to her. He had no interest in such a woman at all, so it would be better if he stayed away from her. "I'm sorry, I'm interested in this headdress. You guys should look at something else." Suddenly, a majestic voice sounded, causing everyone to turn their heads and look in the direction of the sound. At this moment, a majestic voice suddenly sounded. "I'm sorry, I'm interested in this headdress. You guys should look at something else." Hearing this majestic voice, everyone discovered that a middle-aged man wearing bright yellow and brocade clothes appeared at the entrance of Tianbao Hall. After hearing the middle-aged man's words, a drunken and charming voice rang out, making the surrounding young men feel numb in their ears. "Master Lang." Hearing Zui Rao's voice, Mr. Lang's eyes were filled with heat, as if he had been given blood, and he said evilly, "HMPH. If you fall in love with it, it's yours. If you fall in love with this Tianbao Hall, will this Tianbao Hall also belong to you?" What a big joke. Looking at the middle-aged man at the door who claimed to be the king, Mr. Lang looked disdainful. There are so many people in Shenhuang continent who can call themselves kings, but with the power behind him, they don't take the middle-aged man seriously at all. At this moment, the owner of Tianbaotang was slightly curious when he heard this majestic voice. He raised his head and looked in the direction of the voice. There was no disturbance on the surface, but he was secretly shocked in his heart. Why is this god of death here too? Is he also here to participate in the auction held by the demon clan? The middle-aged man just glanced at Mr. Lang casually. The young master named Lang suddenly felt a huge coercion coming towards him. He felt as if he had fallen into an ice cellar, and cold sweat broke out from his back. The boss of Tianbaotang glanced at the man surnamed Lang, feeling contemptuous in his heart, and then said with a smile, "Ha ha, this young man is joking. I'm really sorry. Since this man has taken a liking to this headdress, it belongs to him. If Miss Zuiluo likes it, you can look at other items. The items in our Tianbaotang are definitely unique." Hearing what the boss of Tianbaotang said, Mr. Lang didn't speak anymore, but Zui Rao became anxious and wanted to speak, but the man surnamed Lang covered his mouth, and then he said to the middle-aged man at the door, "I, Lang Aofang, am a core disciple of the Divine Sword Immortal Palace. Do you dare to ask this senior?" At this moment, the evil look on Lang Aofang's face disappeared, and he pretended to be calm and said. The people around him exclaimed in surprise when they heard Lang Aofang's words. It turns out that this is Lang Aofang, the evildoer ranked 20th on the list of the gods of the gods. I heard that his strength has reached the heavenly realm, and he is also the holy body of the heavenly sword. He has cultivated the secret skill of the magic sword fairy palace, the 9 styles of Caitian to the 3rd place. 5 styles. Yes, this was the ranking 3 years ago. Now this boy is stronger. When the Shenhuang Tianjiao ranking is re-ranked in half a year, Lang Aofang should be in the top 10. At this moment, when he heard the comments from the people around him, Lang Aofang's face was filled with pride. He indeed had the capital to be proud. He was born with the heavenly sword holy body, and he had the qualifications to be a monster. He had cultivated the sect's secret skill to the 5th form. With this style, Lang Aofang can fight against the strong Xuanxian without losing. Behind him is the top power of Shenhuang continent, Divine Sword Immortal Palace. No matter what, Lang Aofang has the capital to be proud of. At this moment, After hearing Lang Aofeng's words, the middle-aged man walked over step by step. With every step he took, the aura emitted became stronger. This aura seemed to be aimed at Lang Aofeng, making Lang Aofeng grit his teeth and tremble all over, struggling to hold on, as if he would be overwhelmed by this aura in the next moment. And the next moment the middle-aged man only needs to take one more step. Lang Aofeng knows that he will definitely be overwhelmed by this momentum. The middle-aged man looks down at the ants in his eyes and takes the last step fiercely. Ah! Lang Aoshan couldn't help shouting. Cold sweat broke out on his forehead, and he woke up. Zui Rao on the side said softly, "Mr. Lang, what's wrong with you?" The people around him were shocked when they saw Lang Aofeng suddenly trembling all over, sweating profusely, and with fear in his eyes. Looking up at the middle-aged man again, Lang Aoshan discovered that the middle-aged man was standing still and did not move a step. He was just pulled into some kind of illusion by the middle-aged man's aura. Sword Immortal Palace. Who are you, Lang Lingtian? Hearing the middle-aged man's words, the pride on Lang Aofeng's face disappeared and he whispered, "It's my father." After hearing Lang Aofeng's words, the middle-aged man spoke up and said, "Let's go. Since we have a close acquaintance with your father, let's forget what happened today. If you dare to contradict me like this next time, you will be killed directly." Hearing the middle-aged man's words, Lang Aofeng was shocked, bowed slightly to the middle-aged man, and left in a hurry with Zui Rao, not daring to stop at all, and even showed panic in his eyes. Just now, Lang Aofeng had heard the message from his protector. This middle-aged man turned out to be Baili Tu, the notorious immortal lord of the divine desolate continent. He was extremely difficult to deal with. At this time, Zui Rao's face was also full of panic. He no longer looked as charming as before, and left without saying a word. It seemed that he must have received some news. Baili Tu, as the name suggests, is famous for his massacre of hundreds of miles. He claims to kill 1,000 soldiers, kill 10,000 soldiers, and kill 100,000 soldiers, so he often calls himself the king. He is powerful and ruthless, and his actions are all based on personal preferences. He once hunted down those who had offended him, the first-rate forces in Shenhuang, with thousands of people and hundreds of miles, and he was famous in Shenhuang. Although this person's strength is only at the level of a divine king, he has had an unexpected encounter, and his speed is so fast that it is rare in the gods. Even the powerful immortal emperor cannot keep this person. Once, he was hunted down by many forces because he hunted down 10,000 people from first-rate forces, but not a single one was left alive, which shocked the divine wilderness. Even a strong immortal emperor did not leave this person behind, thus offending Baili Tu. Baili Tu's character was determined to retaliate, and he began to kill the disciples of the powerful immortal emperor sect. Every time Baili Tu was besieged, Baili Tu would take even more crazy revenge, which made the sect miserable. No one of the disciples of the sect who was killed once dared to leave the sect. Later, this powerful immortal emperor personally spoke and heard that Baili Tu had been given many spiritual stones to resolve the matter. From then on, few forces were willing to offend this person. At this moment, Baili Tu came to the boss of Tianbaotang and took a look at the boss. The boss immediately handed the headdress to Baili Tu with a smile and respectful hands, hoping that the god of death could leave quickly. Otherwise, with this moody personality, Tianbaotang would not have to do business today. Suddenly, a sound of surprise came. At this moment, Luo Qingshan, who was wearing a veil, held a jade hairpin that exuded crystal light, looked at Yi Xingshan happily, and said aloud, "Husband, does this hairpin look good?" Yi Xingshan on the side looked at the happy Luo Qingshan, smiled slightly, and said softly, "It looks good. Husband, put it on your wife." After saying that, he picked up the jade hairpin in Luo Qingshan's hand and put it on Luo Qingshan. Suddenly, a majestic voice sounded again. "I am interested in this hairpin, you should look at something else." But it was Baili Tu, whose eyes suddenly lit up when he saw Luo Qingshan's beautiful figure, and he spoke directly. As an experienced person, Baili Tu could tell at a glance Luo Qingshan's peerless grace, that kind of natural nobility and elegance that could never be compared to a woman like Zui Rao. How could a woman like this marry an ant in the Shantian realm? It's such a waste of nature. Only this king is worthy of such a peerless woman. Baili Tu saw Yi Xingshan's cultivation at a glance and couldn't help but secretly thought. However, What shocked everyone was that neither of them seemed to have heard Beilatu's words. Luo Qingshan still maintained that posture, waiting for Yi Xingqian to put the hairpin on herself. Yi Xingqian, on the other hand, continued to look gentle as he slowly put the hairpin on the blue silk of Luo Qingshan. After finishing, he said softly, "What a nice view." The two of them seemed to regard Beilitu as nothing but air, and still did what they wanted to do. Seeing the appearance of the two people, Beilitu was slightly startled as if he had been provoked. Even he did not expect that someone would ignore him. But Beilitu didn't know that one of the two people was the female empress of the demon clan, a being more powerful than him. The demon clan behind her was now a superpower that could compare with those hidden giants in the Holy Land. Not to mention the other one, Yi Xingqian could crush him to death with just one finger, which was easier than crushing an ant to death. At this moment, looking at Yi Xingqian and Luo Qingshan's intimate appearance, Beilitu suddenly became furious, as if his forbidden area had been touched by someone else. Beilitu actually subconsciously regarded Luo Qingshan as his woman. Then a terrifying murderous intention moved directly towards Yi Xingqian. Beilitu, who had massacred 100,000 people in the past, could not withstand even a trace of the terrifying murderous intent that a person in the Shantian realm could resist. At this moment, everyone in the entire Tianbao Hall felt this terrifying murderous intention. Fortunately, these murderous intentions were not directed at them. Even so, everyone felt as if they had fallen into the cold and biting water in an instant, and they could not help but use all their fairy power to resist, so that they could feel better. However, at the next moment, something shocking happened to everyone, including Beilitu. At this moment, Beilitu's whole body exuded a terrifying killing intent, pressing towards Yi Xingqian. There was even more disdain in his eyes, that a mere Shantian realm woman could possess such a temperament. Although she is wearing a special veil and cannot see her specific appearance clearly with her spiritual consciousness, from the natural nobility and elegance of this woman, it can be seen that this woman is definitely a rare and beautiful woman. Such a woman is definitely not something that an ant in the Shantian realm can possess. At this time, this terrifying murderous intention made everyone else in the Tianbao Hall feel as if they had fallen into the cold and biting water in an instant, and they could not help but use the power of the fairy spirits in their bodies to resist. The eyes he looked at Yi Xingqian were full of sympathy. You, a person in the Shantian realm, came out with a woman of such temperament without even a guard. Isn't this a real fat thing? Now that I see that this child will not survive, no matter how powerful the forces behind him are, it is of no use. It is impossible for any force to start a war with this murderer for a Shantian realm disciple, and this person has a vicious reputation and is extremely difficult to deal with. After what happened last time, there are really very few forces who are willing to offend this person. However, at the next moment, something shocking happened to everyone, including Beilitu. The coercion generated by this terrifying murderous intention was like a gentle wind. When it passed by the man in white, nothing happened except blowing the corners of the man's white clothes. As if this terrifying pressure had no effect on the man, when Beilitu saw this scene, his eyes shrank and a look of shock appeared on his face. The smiling boss of Tianbaotang on the side narrowed his eyes slightly in disbelief. Just now, when Beilitu's coercion was about to kill the man, the beautiful woman raised her hand and waved lightly. Seemingly unintentional, Beilitu's murderous intent disappeared instantly. Although it was hidden from the eyes of others, it was not hidden from Beilitu. It was only then that Beilitu discovered that this woman with noble temperament turned out to be a supremely powerful person. Being able to easily disperse his own pressure, his strength will never be lower than his own, and may even be stronger than his own, but so what? At this moment, Beilitu became interested and became even more sure that only the woman in front of him could be worthy of him. When he turned to look at Yi Xingqian, his murderous intent became even stronger. Didn't you hear what I said? I have taken a liking to this hairpin. You, an ant in the Shantian realm, dare to ignore me again and again. Hearing Beilitu's voice again, Yi Xingqian still had no reaction, but Luo Qingshan was unhappy. She frowned slightly and looked at Beilitu with eyes full of disgust. After finally walking around with my husband, I was in a good mood, but someone always came out to cause trouble, so I looked at Yi Xingqian and said angrily, "Husband, where did this fly come from? It's buzzing so annoyingly. My good mood has been ruined by this fly. Let's go. I'm not in the mood anymore." Hearing Luo Qingshan's words, Yi Xingqian smiled slightly and said, "No need to worry, madam, it's just a fly, just swat it to death." As soon as Yi Xingqian finished speaking, the entire Tianbaodang fell silent for an instant. Everyone unconsciously began to retreat slowly, leaving the vicinity of the Tianbaodang hall. No one wants to offend this god of death. After all, Baili Tu's reputation is something that few people in the Shenhuang continent know about. At this moment, Baili Tu looked at Yi Xingqian as if he were a fool, and finally couldn't help laughing. "Haha, it turns out that newborn calves are not afraid of tigers. I was actually laughed at by an ant. Boy, do you think the powerful woman around you can save you? I will let you understand today that in the face of absolute speed, any strength is useless." As soon as Baili Tu finished speaking, terrifying murderous intent surged out from his whole body. That shocking murderous intent seemed to freeze the entire space of Tianbao Hall. The next moment, Baili Tu disappeared, and even Luo Qingshan was slightly frightened. What a speed! A terrifying killing intent, carrying boundless momentum, headed towards Yi Xingqian to kill him. Luo Qingshan wanted to take action, but suddenly she noticed the smile in her husband's eyes. Luo Qingshan, who had long been in tune with Yi Xingqian, still didn't understand that her husband was starting to make trouble again. She gave her husband a charming look, her face full of tenderness. At this moment, Baili Tu appeared behind Yi Xingqian in an instant, pointed out a terrifying energy, and wanted to blow Yi Xingqian's head to pieces. Suddenly, all the hair on Baili Tu's body stood upside down, and a great terror came over him. Baili Tu was horrified to find that the speed he had always been proud of seemed to have failed. The man in the Shantian realm was able to keep up with his speed, and turned to look at him with a mocking look on his face, full of disdain. But his whole body seemed to have lost all feeling and he could not move. At this moment, Baili Tu was really panicking. He couldn't even move his eyes, he was immobilized by a mysterious force. What makes Baili Tu even more frightened is that his brain can still think normally, and his eyes can still see the figure of the man in front of him, but he can't move at all. However, the next moment, Baili Tu was horrified to find that his consciousness became increasingly blurred, as if he had fallen into boundless darkness. At this time, the entire Tianbaodang was silent, as if it happened in an instant, no one knew what happened. But what happened next shocked everyone. At this moment, Baili Tu maintained a strange posture, with a look of horror on his face. But the man in white, as if nothing had happened, with a smile on his face, took the woman's hand, came to the boss of Tianbaodang, and said calmly, "Boss, how many spiritual stones does this hairpin have?" Hearing Yi Xingqian's words, the boss suddenly woke up, looked at Yi Xingqian with eyes filled with awe, and immediately waved his hand and said, "If the young master likes it, then, just, give it to the young master for free, no spiritual stones are required." After glancing at the boss, Yi Xingqian smiled slightly, tossed out a piece of top-grade immortal stone, threw it into the hands of the boss of Tianbaodang, then pulled Luo Qingshan and left with a smile on his face. Looking at the top-grade fairy stone in his hand and feeling the rich power of the fairy spirit in it, the boss of Tianbaodang was shocked. It turned out to be an extremely rare top-grade fairy stone in the Shenhuang continent. This piece alone is equivalent to 100,000 top-quality spiritual stones. Seeing the disappearing figures of Yi Xingqian and Luo Qingshan, the Tianbaodang boss's eyes were full of shock. This time Baili Tu had hit a real iron plate. He couldn't help but smile slightly and said, "Haha, what do you think? This time I hit the real hard wall. It's not easy to see the horror on the face of the god of death." The boss of Tianbaodang looked at Yi Xingqian and the two men disappearing outside the door and spoke to Baili Tu. Seeing that there was no response from the other party, the boss of Tianbaodang turned around and looked at Baili Tu. He frowned slightly when he found that Baili Tu was still maintaining the same action. At this moment, everyone in the Tianbao hall also discovered Baili Tu's situation and cautiously surrounded him. A brave woman even moved Baili Tu with her finger, but found that Baili Tu still had no reaction. Even the boss of Tianbaodang was stunned. When he came to Baili Tu, he slapped him hard. Baili Tu actually maintained that posture and fell to the ground hard. At this moment, the entire Tianbaodang exploded. Baili Tu, the god of killing who was famous throughout the entire Shenhuang, was actually destroyed without any sound. At this moment, everyone looked at the frightened expression on Bailatu's face, thinking that Bailatu must have experienced some huge terror before he was alive. It's simply too terrifying. Who is that man in white? He was able to kill this murderous god silently. A guest in Tianbao Hall spoke out. You are stupid. That man in white is only in the Shantian realm. How could he destroy this god of death? The power behind this man must be too strong. The powerful protector behind him took action and slaughtered Bailey without a sound. Is destroyed, otherwise how could that peerless woman marry the man in white? The man's companion immediately spoke up. At this moment, the owner of Tianbaotang was thinking. Able to throw out a top-quality fairy stone at will, and accompanied by a peerless woman. Although he is only in the Shantian realm, his temperament is unparalleled. Could it be that this man is a disciple of the hidden giant, the Holy Land? Only the guardians of the disciples of the hidden giant's Holy Land have the strength to kill Bailey silently. The more I thought about it, the more it made sense. The boss of Tianbaotang looked at the comments of the people around him and said, let's not speculate anymore. Anyway, you should be happy to come to Tianbao Hall today. Even though Bailey too is dead, there will definitely be no shortage of treasures on him. There are also many people or forces who hate Bailey too so much. I believe there will be people willing to buy his body. How about you spread the news and we can share the spiritual stones equally? At this moment, when they heard the words of the boss of Tianbaotang, everyone's eyes lit up. They were indeed business people and their minds were spinning very fast. At this moment, Bailey too, who was lying on the ground and had already died, would probably not believe until his death that he would one day become a tool for others to earn spiritual stones. In almost half a day, everyone in the entire trading city, including the human and demon territories, heard a shocking news. Bailey too, who was called the god of killing by the Shenhuang forces, has been killed in Tianbao Hall. As soon as this news came out, the entire trading city was instantly shocked. Chapter 71. At this moment, almost half a day later, everyone in the entire trading place heard a shocking news. Bailey too, who was called the god of killer by the Shenhuang forces, has been killed in Tianbao Hall. As soon as this news came out, the entire trading city was instantly shocked. In a luxurious room, Lang Aofang and Zui Rao looked shocked as they listened to the guard's words. Just now, Bailey too, who had allowed them to flee in confusion, was actually killed in Tianbao Hall. The two of them couldn't believe their ears. A person who even the immortal emperor could not keep was killed in such a short period of time. After hearing the report from the guards, Lang Aofang directly took Zui Rao and flew towards Tianbao Hall at high speed. By the time Lang Aofang and Zui Rao arrived at Tianbao Hall, the entire Tianbao Hall was already overcrowded, with people on the 3 floors inside and 3 outside forming a circle. After finally entering the Tianbao Hall, they saw Bailey too lying on the ground in a strange posture with a look of horror on his face. Lang Aofang frowned slightly. At this moment, the boss of Tianbaotang was discussing something with some people. When he finally saw those people throwing a storage ring to the boss, they directly picked up Bailatu's feet and dragged him outside. Suddenly, a scene that shocked everyone appeared. Bailey too's body was shattered inch by inch, and even his clothes were turned into powder. Then the whole body was like a stone that had been burned for a long time. When it was slightly moved by an external force, it all turned into powder and scattered in the air. At this moment, everyone's eyes widened, looking at everything in front of them, and many people began to speculate in their minds. Different from the atmosphere in Tianbaotang, Yi Xingqian held Luo Qingshan's hand and wandered happily all the way, as if what happened just now had no impact on them. After checking the time and shopping around, the two decided to find a restaurant to have some food and rest. The two came to a popular restaurant and asked for a private room with a window on the 3rd floor. After ordering some signature dishes, Yi Xingqian took out a bottle of the best wine, and the two of them chatted and laughed, got up. Luo Qingshan has never been as relaxed as today. Although some unpleasantness happened halfway, it did not affect the mood of the two of them. Looking at Yi Xingqian, Luo Qingshan's eyes were full of smiles. Sometimes Luo Qingshan would think that her husband and she might really be destined to be married, which is why Yi Xingqian fell into his bathing place. From being defensive at the beginning, to now he is wholeheartedly devoted to it. Luo Qingshan could feel her husband's deep affection for her. This was also the most relaxing moment for Luo Qingshan in so many years. Since Yi Xingqian came to the monster clan, the entire monster clan has undergone tremendous changes. Luo Qingxian never asked about her husband's origins. She only asked about her husband's strength out of curiosity. As a result, this enemy deliberately misunderstood and sold himself into it. Thinking of this, Luo Qingxian looked shy and looked at Yi Xingqian with even more tenderness. Suddenly, many exclamations came from the second floor below, which the two people near the window could hear clearly. Brother Li, have you heard about it? Something big happened. Have you heard about Bailatu? The man known as the God of Desolation was killed in Tianbaotang. I heard that he was turned into powder directly. No bones left. What? Baili too was destroyed. How is that possible? This person had an adventure and received the inheritance of a certain supreme being. His speed was so fast that even the immortal emperor couldn't keep him. How could he be destroyed? Could it be that he offended the emperor? The man named Brother Li said to the people around him. Hey, Brother Li, why is it impossible? This news has spread throughout the trading city now. It won't take long before the entire Shenhuang will know. And according to the speculation of the boss of Tianbaotang, Bailatu may have kicked the iron plate this time and offended a disciple of a hidden giant in the Holy Land, so he was killed in an instant. I heard that his whole body was turned into powder. Except for those hidden giants in the Holy Land, who has such strength can make Baili too, who is helpless even to the immortal emperor, die in fear. Hearing this man's words, Brother Li couldn't help but widen his eyes. A disciple of the hidden giant Holy Land. If he is really a strong man from the hidden giant Holy Land, this will definitely make sense. The boss of Tianbao Hall, has he ever said what the disciples of the hidden giant Holy Land are like and what their cultivation is like? Hearing Brother Li ask, the man said with a surprised look on his face. The strange thing is that the boss of Baoge that day recalled to his horror that he couldn't remember the appearance and strength of that man no matter what. It's as if this person has never appeared before, but I just remember clearly that there is a peerless woman beside that man who is unforgettable. Hearing this person's words, Brother Li was slightly startled and said. This is a bit like the style of the Holy Land of Hidden Giants, but why does the Holy Land of Hidden Giants come to our trading city? Is it also for the monster auction in a few days? It can't be wrong. What the demon tribe is auctioning this time is a divine item that can extend life for 50 years. The entire Shenhuang continent does not want that force to get it, and the Holy Land of the Hidden Giant is certainly no exception. After hearing Brother Li's words, the man spoke out. But speaking of this auction, I heard that a large-scale auction will be held at Treasure Ju Pavilion tomorrow. All the major forces came in advance today. They just happened to attend the auction and then go to the Monster Clan Wandan Pavilion. Brother Li, let's go and have a look tomorrow. I heard that all the major forces are here, even the 10,000 Flowers Palace is here. This is one of the few top forces in the wilderness, and all are women. I heard that every disciple has a peerless appearance, let's go and have a look. Hee hee. Yi Xingqian and Luo Qingxian were too lazy to listen to what happened next, but Yi Xingqian became interested in tomorrow's auction. Then he looked at Luo Qingxian who had a smile on his face and said. Madam, have you ever heard of this treasure-gathering building? Well, Jubao Tower belongs to the Shenhuang continent, one of the richest forces, and is extremely powerful. Except for our monster clan, there are branch buildings in every state in the divine desolate continent. The headquarters is in Zhongdi State. Every time an auction is held in the treasure collection building, all the major forces will go there. It is a grand event. Looking up at her husband, Luo Qingxian's face turned slightly red with embarrassment. She looked at Yi Xingqian and continued. When Shen'er went to the human race for training, he participated once. Later, he was busy with the demon clan affairs, and, plus the shortage of spiritual stones in the entire demon clan, he hasn't participated in it for a long time, but the scene was indeed grand. Hearing Luo Qingxian's words, Yi Xingqian became slightly more interested, but thinking of Luo Qingxian's words, Yi Xingqian asked aloud. What is each state that the lady is talking about? Hearing her husband's words, Luo Qingxian burst out laughing and said softly. Shen'er even doubts whether my husband is a human being or not. Did he really fall from the sky? Looking at her husband with a smile on her face, Luo Qingxian explained softly. Our Shenhuang continent has been divided into 5 major states since ancient times, namely Dongzhou, Southern Guangzhou, West Florida, Northern Immortal State, and the most prosperous Zhongdizhou. Each state is far apart, and you need to take a teleportation array to reach it. Our demon clan belongs to Dongzhou. According to ancient legends, in ancient times, Dongzhou was the most powerful state in the Xinhuang continent. It was known as Eastern China. After sighing slightly, Luo Qingshan continued. Now it is the weakest state among the 5 states. Every time there is a competition between the major states, Dongzhou is at the bottom. And because it is at the bottom every time, it cannot return to the name of the ancient times. China. Hearing Luo Qingshan's sigh, Yi Xingshan was slightly curious and asked, "What is the competition between the major states that the lady is talking about?" Hearing her husband's question as if he was curious about a baby, Luo Qingyan smiled softly and said, "Every 3 years, the forces from all the major states will gather in the Central Empire State for an important competition. This competition will allow the top monsters from each state, who are no more than 30 years old, to compete. In the end, the top 30 disciples will be selected to enter the list of the most talented disciples of Xinhuang. Just now in Tianbao Hall, my husband saw the disciple of the Divine Sword Immortal Palace, Leng Aofeng. He is the evildoer who is ranked 20 on the list of the most talented people of Xinhuang. His strength is in the realm of immortals. Even so, Leng Aofeng is proud of himself. There are so many monsters under the age of 30 in the entire Xinhuang continent. The fact that Leng Aofeng stands out and ranks 20th is enough to prove that he is a monster." Hearing Luo Qingshan's words, Yi Xingshan instantly lost interest and asked aloud, "The important competition that the lady is talking about is to compete for the ranking on the list of gods and gods. There is nothing important about this, right?" Seeing her husband's appearance, Luo Qingshan, who knew her husband's character, smiled mysteriously. The next words made Yi Xingshan's eyes light up, and his eyes were full of excitement. At this moment, when Yi Xingshan heard Luo Qingshan's words, his eyes instantly lit up and his face was full of excitement. Seeing her husband's excited expression, Luo Qingshan gave her husband a charming look, and then said, "The competition between states that takes place every 3 years is a grand event in the entire Xinhuang continent. All young talents under the age of 30 will go to Zhongzhou to participate in this grand event. The disciples who can enter the Tianzhou list will not only obtain a large amount of spiritual stones for their own power, but also can enter the tomb of the ancient gods to find great opportunities." Hearing Luo Qingshan's words, Yi Xingshan's eyes lit up and he immediately said, "Tomb of ancient gods. Yes, the tomb of the ancient gods is the tomb of the gods left in ancient times. There are countless opportunities in it, including countless immortal medicines, divine treasures, divine weapons, and ancient methods. But the danger is also extremely high. Every time you enter it, at least half of the geniuses will fall into it." Hearing Luo Qingshan's words, Yi Xingshan asked directly, "Madam, there are countless opportunities in such a divine tomb. With such a huge temptation, can the major forces in the divine wilderness resist entering it?" Hearing her husband's words, Luo Qingshan smiled in her eyes and looked at Yi Xingshan tenderly. "My husband is indeed smart. Yes, when the ancient tomb of the gods first appeared, there was a vision from the sky. The endless divine light shone in the heavens and caused a huge sensation. All the forces headed for the Zhongdizhou as fast as possible. The strong men from all forces saw from the entrance of the ancient tomb of the gods that the divine light was shining inside the tomb of the gods. Various fairy medicines and divine treasures were emitting dazzling light. These strong men poured in like crazy. In the end, it was blocked by a mysterious and powerful energy. No matter what methods the powerful men of the major forces used, and even some forces took out all the artifacts of the clan, they were still unable to break through this mysterious and powerful layer. Strength. Finally, after research by experts from all major forces, it was discovered that only people with a bone age of no more than 30 years old can enter, and each time the tomb of the ancient gods is opened, it only lasts for 10 days. The strength cannot be too low. Finally, after discussions among the major forces, the Xinhuang Tianzhou list was born. It is held every 3 years and is hosted by the most powerful force in the Central Empire, Tiandao sect. Because the age limit for entering the god's tomb is 30 years old, the number of those who are on the Xinhuang Tianzhou list is also only 30. Only those on the list can enter the tomb of the ancient gods to look for opportunities. Later, as time went by, more and more disciples on the list entered it. Some monsters died and were buried in it. Some monsters get great opportunities and soar into the sky. After so many years, every time the disciples enter it and come out alive, they have received great opportunities. Some become powerful, sit in charge of a certain party, and enjoy boundless glory. Some become the masters of a sect, command thousands of people, and gain the respect of thousands of people. But there is an even more explosive news that caused a sensation in the entire divine wasteland after the last visit to the tomb of ancient gods. Hearing Luo Qingshan's words, Yi Xingqian became a little excited and asked the explosive news that shocked the entire Shenhuang. Madam, please tell me, what is it? Hearing her husband's question, Luo Qingshan smiled mysteriously, and then said directly. In the tomb of the ancient gods, there is the secret to becoming a god. Hearing Luo Qingshan's words, Yi Xingqian was slightly startled, and then murmured to himself. The secret of becoming a god. Hearing her husband muttering to himself, Luo Qingshan smiled slightly and said, Husband, after half a year, the disciple war between the major states will begin. If you are interested, please take the demon clan disciples to take a look and participate. As for the so-called secret of becoming a god, husband, do you want to go and find out for yourself? Hearing Luo Qingshan's words, Yi Xingqian smiled slightly. Looking at the smile in his wife's eyes, he still didn't understand. He nodded slightly and said, My husband will definitely participate in such an interesting thing. The secret of becoming a god. Interesting. Yi Xingqian had a vague feeling that his current heavenly emperor realm was not the highest realm yet, and there must be a more powerful realm above the heavenly emperor realm. Just like the ancient legends of Shenhuang continent, the powerful people in the realm above the great emperor of Shenhuang continent have all gone to a higher level world. Yi Xingqian believes that these legends are not groundless. Maybe there is really a secret to becoming a god in the ancient tomb of gods. How could he miss such an interesting thing? Hearing Yi Xingqian's words, Luo Qingshan smiled softly. What she thought was indeed right, her husband would definitely attend. After the two had dinner, they remembered that they would attend the auction at the treasure building tower tomorrow, so they stopped wandering and left the trade city directly, returning to Wandan Pavilion. Early the next morning, Yi Xingqian slowly opened his eyes and found that Luo Qingshan beside him had disappeared. He smiled slightly. Yi Xingqian didn't need to think about it, but he knew that his wife must have gone on inspection to see the preparations of Wandan Pavilion. What's going on? After getting up and washing up, Yi Xingqian came to the window and looked at the trading city in the distance. Although it was still early, he could already see a blurry figure. Thinking that he had a wife, this point should be better. Yi Xingqian remembered that today's sign-in had not been signed yet, and he immediately spoke to the system. System, check-in starts today. As soon as Yi Xingqian finished speaking, the system's voice rang. Ding, the system is signing in. The sign-in is successful. Congratulations to the host for getting the reward, 1 million top-quality immortal stones, which have been stored in the system space. Ding, the system is signing in. The sign-in is successful. Congratulations to the host for getting the reward, the Hunyuan Exquisite Bracelet. Hunyuan Exquisite Bracelet, a god-level bracelet, something worn by women. In ancient times, the supreme giant collected the heavenly stones and Hunyuan orbs to refine them for his wife. After a woman wears it, she will be able to ward off evil spirits, be impervious to water and fire, and impervious to all poisons. She will be able to have magical powers as she wishes. It becomes larger and can attack and defend as a whole. It is innately invincible and cannot be broken except by the emperor. When you become smaller, you can transform into a magic weapon and kill people invisibly, without anyone being able to detect them. It is a god-level treasure that integrates attack, defense, and trapping. Ding, the system is signing in. The sign-in is successful. Congratulations to the host for getting the reward, an Emperor's Guard card. The Emperor's Guard card can only be used by the host. After using it, a supremely powerful person in the realm of the Emperor will appear. He is absolutely loyal to the host. He will listen to any orders of the host, do anything for the host, and will never rebel. At this time, Yi Xingqian, who was standing by the window, listened to the sound coming from the system, and the corners of his mouth began to slowly turn up. The system actually rewarded me with another Great Emperor Guard card, plus 10 Immortal Emperor Guard cards. The power I now secretly possess is comparable to the top power in the divine desolation. Thinking of this, Yi Xingqian had a bolder idea in his mind. Now that he knew that the Shenhuang continent was divided into 5 major states, and Zhongzhou was the most powerful and prosperous state, he might be able to do something in advance. However, these things cannot be completed in a short time. I still have a lot of time, so I am not in a hurry for a day or two. Smiling slightly, Yi Xingqian looked at the Hunyuan exquisite bracelet in the system space. The entire bracelet was white jade in color. Looking at the bracelet exuding crystal light, Yi Xingqian laughed happily. Find an opportunity to give this gift to your wife, she will definitely like it. I was just thinking about what gift to give to my wife, and the system immediately rewarded me with a divine bracelet with such a powerful ability. Such a divine bracelet is the only one in the entire Shenhuang continent. How could Yi Xingqian not be happy? Looking at the time, Yi Xingqian knew that Luo Qingshan should be back soon. Sure enough, after a while, Luo Qingshan came to Yi Xingqian with a happy face and said, "Husband, you woke up. Shan'er thought that your husband was still lying in bed." Seeing Luo Qingshan's happy look, Yi Xingqian smiled slightly, took Luo Qingshan's hand, and said softly, "We are going to the auction today. How can my husband stay in bed? Seeing how happy my wife is, the affairs of Wandan Pavilion should be settled. Well, the great elder is here and some disciples have been sent from the demon clan. Now we are waiting for the major forces to arrive." Hearing Yi Xingqian's words, Luo Qingshan smiled slightly and said softly, "In that case, madam, let's go. This time, you can take pictures of everything you like. Don't worry about not having the spirit stone anymore. With your husband here, madam can rest assured and bid." Looking at Luo Qingshan, Yi Xingqian's eyes were full of doting. Hearing her husband's words, Luo Qingshan was moved and looked at Yi Xingqian with tenderness in her beautiful eyes. At this moment, Yi Xingqian and Luo Qingshan looked at each other, their eyes full of affection, and the relationship between them became deeper and deeper. The scene changed to the human territory, outside the treasure-gathering building. At this moment, the treasure-gathering building is crowded with people. All major forces are coming one after another, and even the other 4 major states' forces are also appearing one after another. In the void above the treasure building, powerful momentum is coming continuously. This is the arrival of powerful men from all major forces. You can even hear the roar of dragons and phoenixes in the void. They are powerful mounts with the blood of divine beasts, hovering in the void. Outside the treasure building, many onlookers occupied favorable positions. Although they did not have enough spirit stones, they went to the treasure building to participate in the auction. However, it is a feast for the eyes to be able to see the top forces of the 5 divine desolate states. Suddenly, everyone felt their eyes darken, and looked up. In the void above the treasure building, a huge condor, with its body like a flame, emitting a red divine light, came towards the treasure building. Look, the flame condor has the bloodline of the ancient divine beast Kunpeng. It is huge in size and extremely fast. It is the unique mount of the top power, the beast control sect. It seems that the strong man of the beast control sect in northern Shenzhou has arrived. A sharp-eyed spectator said excitedly to the people around him. Sure enough, the next moment, several disciples wearing the costumes of the beast control sect, led by a middle-aged man with a majestic face, entered the treasure-gathering building. After a while, a stream of fragrance floated by, and a huge warship covered with flowers came across the void in the distance. From a distance, people can smell the faint fragrance, just like the warm wind blowing through the sea of flowers, making people intoxicated. Seeing this huge warship covered with flowers caused countless people to exclaim, "Look, that flower warship. If you guessed correctly, it should be the 10,000 Flowers Divine Palace. This is one of the few top forces in the Shenhuang continent, all of which are women." A man who was watching the excitement said pretentiously to the people around him. When no one answered, he turned around and saw everyone around him staring in the direction of the 10,000 Flowers shrine with excited expressions, their eyes full of passion, meaning. The next moment, dozens of stunning women in pink clothes flew down from the warship and entered the treasure building. Have you seen it? It is worthy of being the top power in the Central Empire, the 10,000 Flowers Palace. Every disciple is bright and charming, with a unique temperament. Moreover, all of them are powerful and have good cultivation. The lowest is the immortal realm. A powerful casual cultivator who was watching the excitement looked at the disciples of the 10,000 Flowers Palace with fiery eyes and said with an evil smile. Hee, those are a bit too immature, but the woman taking the lead is even more stunning. Look at her exquisite facial features, perfect figure, and mature temperament. Nothing makes people fascinated and intoxicated. The companion next to the man smiled and said to the man. Hearing his companion's words, the evil smile on the man's face grew thicker. He turned his head and looked in the direction of the treasure building, with a strange look in his eyes. Seeing the smile on the face of the man next to him, the companion immediately said to the man. Ha, I advise you not to think too much. Just enjoy it. The 10,000 Flowers Palace is not something you and I can offend. Especially the woman who takes the lead as the lord of the 10,000 Flowers Palace, Empress Hua Shuiyan. She is powerful, has amazing qualifications, and has unparalleled luck. She has had ancient adventures. At a young age, her strength has broken through to the level of an immortal. Imperial realm. With such strength, I can easily crush you and me to death with one finger, but don't do anything stupid. Looking at his companions beside him, the man said with a serious face. After hearing his companion's words, the man with an evil smile on his face nodded indifferently, as if he didn't hear his companion's words at all. Seeing his companion like this, the man shook his head helplessly and said no more. That was all he had to say. Whether he could take it in or not was his business. The consequences were entirely up to him. As time goes by, the top powers from each state arrive one after another, surprising countless people. Look, that's the top power in southern Guangzhou, people from Emperor Yan's dynasty are here. That is, the Tiandao sect, the strongest force in the Central Empire State, actually came too. That's the Shangqing Palace, and Wang Fu came in person even if he didn't pay his respects. There are also people from Dongzhou Xuantian sect, the sect leader Nangong Luyun personally led the team here. Look, there are others. Those are the disciples of the Buddhist sect in West Florida. They are here too. It seems they are also here for the auction of the Demon Clan. At this moment, the time for the auction is getting closer and closer. Yi Xingchen and Luo Qingshan have also arrived in front of the treasure collection building. Looking at the 5-story treasure building in front of him, which covers an extremely large area and has a bejeweled appearance, Yi Xingchen sighed slightly. The buildings of the human race are still much more gorgeous than those of the demon race. At the same time, I also gained a new understanding of the treasure collection tower. With such luxurious decoration and fine carvings, the most shocking thing is that the entire treasure collection tower is made entirely of ancient wood. This kind of ancient wood will always exude the aura of fairy spirits and is extremely expensive. This shows how wealthy Jubao Tower is. It is indeed the richest force in the Shenhuang continent. Luo Qingshan and Yi Xingchen slowly walked hand in hand and entered the treasure building. Along the way, although the two did not ride on a powerful ancient boat or flying mounts, they still attracted the attention of countless people. Luo Qingshan was wearing a gorgeous palace dress, as gentle as the moonlight, and her elegant behavior revealed her innate nobility. Although she is wearing a veil and cannot see her appearance clearly, people can still see the noble beauty of Luo Qingshan. Yi Xingchen also has unparalleled temperament, handsome appearance, that calm expression, and the aura of a superior person that he unintentionally exudes, which also makes people feel that Yi Xingchen is extraordinary. When the two of them entered the treasure building, a beautiful woman immediately stepped forward to greet them and asked respectfully. The two distinguished guests, Slave Lu Yan, are the maids of Jubao Tower. Do the two distinguished guests want to go to the private room on the 5th floor, or to the hall below the 4th floor? The private room requires 100,000 top-quality spiritual stones, and the lobby only requires 10,000 top-quality spiritual stones. Hearing the words of the maid Lu Yan, Yi Xingchen smiled slightly and said, "Then take us to the private room. It's too noisy outside." Hearing Yi Xingchen's words, Lu Yan's smile became more respectful. After all, she couldn't offend anyone who had the strength to enter the private room. She gave him a slight bow and said respectfully, "Two distinguished guests, please follow me." After saying that, he turned around and took Yi Xingchen and Luo Qingshan up to the 5th floor and arrived at a gorgeous private room. The decoration of the entire private room also looked extremely gorgeous and grand. "Two distinguished guests, please take a rest. Please feel free to taste and drink the various spiritual fruits and tea in the private room. The auction will begin immediately. If you two distinguished guests need anything, please contact Lu Yan at any time. Your maid will always be waiting outside the door. After speaking, Lu Yan bowed to the two of them again, turned around, closed the door and left. The two came to the window of the private room, and the huge auction table below instantly appeared in their eyes. The situation outside can be easily seen from inside the private room, but the situation inside the private room cannot be seen from the outside, and even spiritual consciousness cannot penetrate it. This is the uniqueness of the auction private room. Looking at the lively people in the hall below, Yi Xingchen pulled Luo Qingshan to sit on a soft chair and said softly, "The decoration of this treasure building is luxurious enough. It deserves to be the richest power in Shenhuang. Madam, is every auction of the treasure building always so lively?" Hearing her husband's words, Luo Qingshan smiled charmingly and said softly, "No, Jubao Tower suddenly held an auction this time. They should have known that major forces would come to participate in our demon clan's auction. It was specially held temporarily. The purpose was to take advantage of our demon clan's auction. Make a fortune." Hearing Luo Qingshan's words, Yi Xingchen refused to leave and said with a helpless smile, "As expected of the treasure building, this business is incredible. No wonder it has become the richest force in Shenhuang." Suddenly, a gentle and loud voice sounded, and an old man with a smile on his face came to the platform and said, "Welcome to all of you to participate in the auction held by the Jubao Tower. I am the great elder of the Jubao Tower, Mo Wuan. I believe everyone is aware of the rules of the Jubao Tower. If there are any disgusting bidders, forces or individuals who don't have enough spirit stones to pay in the end, I'm sorry, but I have to leave you all in the treasure building. We will not let you leave until the force you belong to pays the spirit stones. From now on, this force or individual will no longer be welcome in any treasure house auctions in Shenhuang Prefecture." After Mo Wuan finished speaking, waves of terrifying aura rose up in the treasure building, making everyone feel a burst of pressure. It turned out to be several immortal emperor realm powerhouses. The aura emitted by them must have been the immortal emperor powerhouses in the treasure building. There are so many powerful immortal emperors in just one branch of the building. It deserves to be called treasure building, the richest force in Shenhuang. Seeing the reaction below, Mo Wuan nodded with satisfaction, then said with a smile, "I don't want to be nagging, now I announce that the auction has officially begun. The first item to be auctioned below is the glazed green seal." As soon as he finished speaking, a woman with beautiful appearance and hot figure walked out holding a wooden box in both hands. After hearing Mo Wuan's words, everyone including Luo Qingshan, seemed to explode in an instant, and everyone stood up in shock. Countless people exclaimed, "It turns out to be it, the glazed green treasure seal." At this moment, the entire treasure building, including Luo Qingshan, stood up in shock after hearing Mo Wuan's words. Countless people even exclaimed directly, "It turns out to be it, the glazed green treasure seal." Seeing Luo Qingshan's shocked look and the exclamations of everyone in the treasure building, Yi Xingchen smiled slightly, became interested in an instant, and asked aloud, "Madam, why are you so excited? Does this glazed green seal have a great origin?" After hearing her husband's words, Luo Qingshan came back to her senses, her face flushed slightly, and she was a little embarrassed. She was so shocked just now that she stood up involuntarily. "Husband, this glazed green treasure seal not only has a great origin, it is simply famous among the gods." Hearing her husband's question, Luo Qingshan said excitedly, "Only a person like my husband, who is ignorant of worldly affairs, could never have heard of the name of the glazed green seal." Giving her husband a charming look, Luo Qingshan then explained, "This glazed green treasure seal is the personal magic weapon of the powerful ancient emperor, the Glazed Empress. It stole the show during the ancient war between gods and demons. All the demons changed their expressions when they saw it. They were horrified when they heard that it was transformed by a ray of will from heaven. It is a rare divine object that can restrain the demons. It is also very powerful and can be turned into a huge treasure seal to attack and kill enemy. Since the ancient war between gods and demons, the Luli Empress has disappeared, and the Luli Qingbao seal has also disappeared." Hearing Luo Qingshan's explanation, Yi Xingchen frowned slightly and asked with some confusion, "Madam, No matter how powerful this glazed green treasure seal is and how it can restrain the demons, it is just a divine object. Why does it make so many people shocked and even scream in surprise? Looking at Luo Qingshan, Yi Xingqian asked what he was thinking. Indeed, whoever is able to participate in the treasure-gathering building auction is not the top force in Shenhuang. The clan suppressing artifacts of their respective forces must be no worse than the glazed green treasure seal, and may even be robbed by force. There is no need for such a big reaction. Hearing her husband's question, Luo Qingyan smiled softly and said, "Sure enough, my husband saw the key to the matter at a glance. Yes, if it were just that, it would not shock everyone. But the glazed green treasure seal also has a huge effect, and this effect is what shocked everyone." Looking at her husband, Luo Qingshan continued, "The greatest effect of the glazed green treasure seal is not how much it can restrain the demons, but the glazed green treasure seal itself, which is the key to unlocking the treasures of heaven." Hearing Luo Qingshan's words, Yi Xingqian's eyes lit up and he said, "Treasure of heaven. Well, yes, Empress Luli is a supremely powerful person in the great emperor realm. However, Empress Luli has average qualifications, but she broke through to the great emperor realm in less than 200 years. The biggest reason for this is the treasure of heaven." Quote, "At that time, this incident caused a sensation in the entire divine wasteland. Later, the war between gods and demons began. In order to prevent her inheritance from being broken, Empress Luli once said that she had only explored a small part of the treasure of heaven, and it was the only key to unlock the treasure of heaven. It's the glazed green treasure seal. Empress Luli originally wanted to open the treasure of heaven together with the powerful gods and demons after the battle between gods and demons. Unfortunately, Empress Luli disappeared later and no one knew where she went. Furthermore, the glazed green treasure seal has also disappeared. Unexpectedly, it was obtained by Treasure Collection House and put up for auction. How can this not be shocking?" Glancing at the people below who were still in shock, Luo Qingshan then spoke out. "I think I have been searching for the location of the heaven's treasure for so many years in the treasure building. I think I found nothing, otherwise I wouldn't have put it up for auction. After all, only Empress Luli knows the location of the heaven's treasure." Hearing Luo Qingshan's words, Yi Xingqian had an idea in his mind. "My delusion-breaking eyes can see through all the fog and return to the essence of things. Maybe I can find the location of the treasure of heaven." Thinking of this, Yi Xingqian suddenly had an idea in his mind. He looked at Luo Qingshan who was looking out the window and said softly, "Madam, do you want to take a photo of this glazed green seal?" Hearing Yi Xingqian's words, Luo Qingshan rolled her eyes at her husband and said softly, "Husband, let's not think about it. Although no one knows the location of the treasure of heaven, but even so, we cannot take pictures of the glazed green treasure seal. The required spiritual stones can be described as massive. Our demon clan, although I have some spiritual stones now, it is definitely not enough." Seeing her husband, Luo Qingshan smiled helplessly, a trace of helplessness, unwillingness and loss flashed in her eyes. Seeing the helplessness, unwillingness and disappointment in Luo Qingshan's eyes, Yi Xingqian smiled slightly and said softly, "Madam, do you still remember what your husband said yesterday? In today's auction, as long as the lady wants, you can bid. There is a husband here, so there is no need to worry about the spiritual stone." Hearing Yi Xingqian's words, Luo Qingshan's eyes lit up and looked at Yi Xingqian, but they dimmed instantly. She shook her head, looked at Yi Xingqian, smiled slightly, and said softly, "This glazed green seal is too valuable, Shenur doesn't want it." Hearing Luo Qingshan's words, Yi Xingqian certainly knew what Luo Qingshan was thinking. He gently took Luo Qingshan's hand and said affectionately in Luo Qingshan's ear, "In the eyes of your husband, everything in the world is not as good as a hair of your wife. All kinds of magical things are not as good as your lady's gentle smile. You and I are one and the same, regardless of you and me." Hearing Yi Xingqian's affectionate words, Luo Qingshan couldn't bear it. She was moved and burst into tears. She couldn't help but throw herself into Yi Xingqian's arms and said excitedly, "Husband, husband, Shenur is so happy, Shenur loves you so much." As soon as Luo Qingshan finished speaking, the veil slipped off her face, she raised her head and looked at Yi Xingqian shyly. "It seems like forever. It's as if the sea has dried up and the rocks are in ruins." The relationship between the two people was completely sublimated at this moment, and the red thread of marriage was completely tightened and locked. The two of them looked at each other affectionately until half the time when they burned the incense. Luo Qingxian seemed to feel something and ran away from Yi Xingqian's arms with a blush on her face. She glared at her husband fiercely, but her eyes were full of affection. At this time, Yi Xingqian shook his hands with a proud look on his face, as if he was thinking about something. He looked at the shy Luo Qingxian and laughed. When Luo Qingxian saw Yi Xingqian's appearance, she became even more shy. She snorted softly, turned around and looked down, but her eyes were full of smiles. At this time, everyone in the treasure collection tower also woke up one after another. Mo Wuan looked at the treasure collection tower, everyone was talking about it, smiled slightly, and said, "Everyone, please be quiet." As soon as Mo Wuan finished speaking, the entire treasure building instantly fell silent. Looking at the quiet people, Mo Wuan continued, "I won't explain the function of the glazed green treasure seal in detail. Although I don't know the location of the treasure of heaven, the glazed green treasure seal itself is also a divine level treasure. I won't waste any words. Let's start the bidding. The base price is 10 million high-quality spiritual stones. Each bid will be at least 1 million high-quality spiritual stones. The auction begins now." As soon as Mo Wuan finished speaking, several powerful immortal emperors appeared on the auction stage, exuding the aura of space. The woman with stunning appearance and hot figure opened the wooden box at this moment, and a green light bloomed. A square seal exuding divine light lay quietly in the wooden box, instantly attracting the attention of countless people. Look! It was the glazed green treasure seal. At this moment, everyone looked at the glazed green treasure seal with fiery eyes. Suddenly a domineering voice sounded. "This emperor offers 15 million top-quality spiritual stones." It was the first-class force in Dongzhou, the emperor of the Tianlin dynasty, who shouted. With the first bidder in the auction, all major forces in the treasure collection building began to bid one after another. 18 million top-quality spiritual stones. 20 million top-quality spiritual stones. 50 million top-quality spiritual stones. 80 million top-quality spiritual stones. 100 million top-quality spiritual stones. In just a short moment, the price of the glazed green treasure seal has reached the terrifying 100 million top-quality spiritual stones. Everyone's faces were full of shock. The person who was calling was actually Nangong Luyun, the head of the Xuantian sect who opened the window in the fifth-floor private room. At this moment, the top power of Shenhuang, which was the first to be eliminated, finally started bidding. This opening made countless first-rate forces shake their heads helplessly and sigh with excitement. 100 million top-quality spiritual stones, this is already a terrifying number. However, everyone knows that this is only the first top force to end. This moment is when the bidding really begins. At this moment, I heard that Nangong Luyun, the leader of the Xuantian sect, came out in person and started bidding. With this opening, there were a terrifying 100 million spirit stones, and countless first-rate forces shook their heads helplessly, looking forward to it and sighing. However, everyone knows that these 100 million spiritual stones are just the beginning. The top forces in the major states of the Divine Desolate have not yet finished bidding. Now is when the bidding really begins. At this moment, Nangong Luyun, who was standing in the private room on the fifth floor, looked at the many forces below who shook their heads helplessly, with a hint of evil intent and disdain in his eyes. "Everyone, I will start with this. 100 million top-quality spiritual stones will make some cats and dogs who have no self-awareness feel helpless. From now on, it will all depend on their ability." As soon as Nangong Luyun finished speaking, the originally lively scene in the hall below suddenly became quiet. Although many first-rate forces were angry in their hearts, they did not show any dissatisfaction on their faces. After all, Xuantian sect is the top force in the Shenhuang continent, and Nangong Luyun is a powerful immortal emperor, and everyone in the Shenhuang forces knows that Nangong Luyun is very scheming and has extremely good methods. Otherwise, it would be impossible to lead the Xuantian sect from a first-class force to the top force in the Shenhuang continent in just a few years. Therefore, no matter how angry many first-rate forces are in their hearts, they dare not show it. This is the benefit of being powerful. At this moment, the bidding continues. Many forces in the hall rarely speak, and the price of the glazed green treasure seal has reached the terrifying 500 million top-quality spiritual stones. At this moment, not only the forces in the hall of the treasure building, but also outside the treasure building knew that the glazed green treasure seal being auctioned had been bid for a terrifying 500 million top-grade spiritual stones, and everyone's eyes widened with disbelief on their faces. All go. 500 million top-grade spiritual stones. The total income of the top forces in a year may only be this much. Those top forces only casually say that there are so many spiritual stones. Outside the treasure building, a bystander said in shock when he heard the sound coming from the treasure building. Oh, if they can become the top power, this spiritual stone is a huge wealth in our eyes, but in their eyes, it is just a drop in the bucket. A carefree man next to him held a wine gourd in his hand and said while drinking. Yes, look at it. This is the glazed green treasure seal. Having this treasure seal is equivalent to having the key to the treasure of heaven. Although no one knows the key to the treasure of heaven now, no one knows the key to the treasure of heaven. Give up this opportunity. The best spiritual stone is just a number in front of these forces, but the glazed green seal is related to the treasure of heaven. No top force will give up this opportunity. Outside the treasure collection building, an old man in the Immortal King realm seemed to have seen through everything. He looked into the treasure collection building and said to himself. At this moment, in the Jubao building, the top forces from all major states came to bid one after another, and the bidding price soared to 1 billion high-quality spiritual stones. The first-rate forces in the entire treasure-gathering building looked shocked. 1 billion top-quality spiritual stones. Another majestic voice sounded. It turned out to be the most powerful force in Zongdi continent, Tiandao sect, and it turned out to be the bidding. This sound directly shocked all the forces in the treasure-gathering building. Tiandao sect, the most powerful force in the Central Empire State, has all begun bidding. It seems that the bidding for the glazed green seal has reached the last moment. As soon as the Tiandao sect finished speaking, a domineering voice sounded directly. 15 billion top-quality spiritual stones. They actually directly added 400 million top-quality spiritual stones. All the forces couldn't help but look at the private room on the 5th floor, only to find a middle-aged man with a majestic face standing there at the window. He was the lord of Shangqing Palace. Wang Fu refused to worship. Did you see it? As expected of the Shangqing Palace, they directly increased the price by 400 million for the best spiritual stones. It's so rich. Nonsense. Shangqing Palace controls half of the elixir business in Shenhuang continent. This amount of spiritual stones can be ignored for them. In the hall of Jubao building, all the major first-rate forces were discussing. 2 billion top-quality spiritual stones. As soon as Wang Fu finished his words, a kind voice rang out. It turned out to be someone from the Buddhist sect in West Florida, and he started bidding. As soon as he opened his mouth, it was 2 billion top-quality spiritual stones. When Wang Fu Bubai heard this kind voice, he couldn't help but turn his head, look at the private room where the Buddha sect was, and smiled slightly. Haha, I didn't expect that even the Buddhist sect, which has always been ignorant of the 4 elements, is interested in this glazed green treasure seal. This is really rare. Wang Fu Bubai's words contained a sense of ridicule. He looked at the private room where the Buddha sect was, and said with a smile. Amitabha. When the old monk saw this object, he knew that this glazed green seal was destined to the Buddha sect, so he made a bid for it, which made the donor Wang Fu laugh. After hearing Wang Fu's words, a kind-faced old monk came to the window in the private room where the Buddha was, looked at the private room where Wang Fu was, and said calmly. Everyone in Jubao Tower was shocked when they saw this old monk. This old monk with a kind face turned out to be the Lord Buddha of the Buddhist sect, Master Bu Kai. His strength was at the immortal emperor level. Even in the entire Shenhuang continent, his strength was unparalleled. Ranked strong. No one thought that Lord Buddha and Master Buchi, who had not walked around the sacred wasteland for a long time, would actually come in person. It seems that they attach great importance to this monster auction. Wang Fu didn't bow, but when he heard Master Buchi's words, his eyes also shone and he smiled slightly. This emperor also saw this treasure seal for the first time, and he liked it very much. It seems that this glazed green treasure seal and the Shangqing Palace are also destined to have 3 billion top-quality spiritual stones. Looking at Master Buchi, Wang Fu Bubai smiled. But at this moment, Master Butchie, who had an amiable look on his face, froze his smile when he heard Wang Fu's words, shook his head slightly, and stopped bidding. Seeing Master Butchie, he shook his head slightly and stopped bidding. Wang Fu smiled slightly and glanced in the direction of Master Butchie. Haha, now it seems that this glazed green treasure seal has no fate with the Buddha sect, but it is really destined with the Shangqing Palace. At this moment, after hearing Wang Fu's words, a cold voice sounded. 5 billion top-quality spiritual stones. Hearing this cold voice, Wang Fu Bubai, who was very proud just now, frowned slightly, turned around and found that it was the Empress of the 10,000 Flowers Palace, Hua Shuiyan. Seeing this girl, a smile suddenly appeared on Wang Fu Bubai's face, and there was a strange color in the depths of his eyes as he looked at Hua Shuiyan. Haha, it turns out to be the Flower Palace Master. It seems that the Flower Palace Master is also very interested in this glazed green seal. Why don't I take a photo of it and study it with the Flower Palace Master? Upon hearing Wang Fu's words of refusal, all the forces in the Jubao Tower expressed their intention to watch the excitement. There was a deep meaning in Wang Fu's words of refusal, and it was almost an obvious provocation. At this moment, all the disciples in the private room where the Wanhua Palace was located had angry faces, but Hua Shuiyan had a cold face, without any change. She just glanced at Wang Fu Bu and said something that shocked everyone. You, not worthy. Hearing this, Wang Fu Bubai narrowed his eyes, a flash of anger flashed in his eyes, and then smiled slightly, with a calm expression on his face, as if what he just said had no impact on Wang Fu Bubai. Since the master of the Flower Palace said this, I think the elixirs from the Shangqing Palace are not worthy of the Wanhua Palace. I will probably not buy the elixirs from the Shangqing Palace again in the future. Unfortunately, I will have to earn less spiritual stones. Hey, I'm offering you 10 billion top-quality spiritual stones. At this moment, after hearing Wang Fu's words, Hua Shuiyan had an expression for the first time, frowned, and glanced at Wang Fu but never made a bid again. The other forces were slightly shocked when they heard that Wang Fu actually offered 10 billion top-quality spiritual stones without paying homage. This was not a small sum. 10 billion top-quality spiritual stones, even their top powers cannot just take them out casually. What shocked the other powers the most was that Wang Fu's words clearly contained a threat. At this moment, the Tiandao sect, the Great Yan Emperor dynasty, the Buddha sect and other major forces all shook their heads helplessly, and the entire people in the treasure collection tower also began to talk loudly, guessing that this glazed green treasure seal should be something from the Shangqing Palace. At this moment, Mo Wuan also frowned slightly and glanced at Wang Fu without saying anything. I was extremely excited in my heart. Although the glazed green treasure seal was the key to the Tiandao treasure, after several years of searching in the treasure collection tower, there was no news about the Tiandao treasure. Jubaolo even suspected that there was no such so-called heavenly treasure at all, and Empress Luli might have lied, so she put it up for auction. At that time, Jubaolo thought that the glazed green treasure seal could auction up to 3 billion top-quality spiritual stones, and it was already very satisfied. Unexpectedly, 10 billion top-quality spiritual stones were auctioned now, far exceeding expectations. How could Mo Wu not let Mo Wu traces of excitement? Although there was something else in Wang Fu Bubai's words just now, which made Hua Shuiyan not bid again, but 10 billion top-quality spiritual stones are completely enough. Looking at the reactions of everyone below, Mo Wuan knew that these 10 billion were beyond the reach of all forces, so just as he was about to speak, a calm voice rang out. 100 billion top-quality spiritual stones. Hearing this voice, the entire treasure-gathering building fell silent for an instant. At this moment, after hearing this calm voice, the entire treasure-gathering building fell silent for an instant. Everyone looked towards the private room where the voice was spoken, with shocked expressions on their faces. Wang Fu frowned and looked in the direction where the voice came from. At this moment, in the private room where the voice came from, the windows were closed and no one appeared. This moment made all the forces curious about which force was so domineering and dared to challenge the Qing Palace. The meaning behind Wang Fu's words about not paying homage was already obvious. Even a woman like Hua Shuiyan stopped bidding. At this moment, there are still people who dare to bid against the Shangqing Palace. How could this not shock all the forces? Wang Fu Bubai looked at the private room, as if he was provoked, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly, and he snorted softly. 15 billion top-quality spiritual stones. As soon as he finished speaking, before everyone could be shocked, the same calm voice came from that private room. 20 billion top-quality spiritual stones. At this moment, the entire treasure building suddenly let out a hissing sound. All the powerful people kept scanning towards that private room with their spiritual consciousness, but because of the formation that blocked their spiritual consciousness, they could not know who was in the private room, and at the same time they became more and more curious. Instead, everyone turned to look at Wangfu Bubai. At this time, Wangfu Bubai had no smile on his face. This voice was like a slap in the face. Wangfu Bubai was like going to the Qing Palace. Status provocation. Even the most powerful force in Central Continent, the Tiandao sect, had given face to Wangfu Bubai. At this moment, there are still people who dare to challenge Wangfu Bubai. This is simply a naked provocation. Looking at the expression on Wangfu Bubai's face, all the forces felt secretly happy. Even Hua Shuiyan, who had a cold temperament, looked at Wangfu Bubai's face at this moment, and the corners of his mouth curled up slightly unconsciously. Feeling the expressions in the eyes of the major forces, Wangfu didn't bow before he slowly calmed down and said, 22 billion top-quality spiritual stones. But as soon as Wangfu said no, the calm voice in the private room rang out. 30 billion top-quality spiritual stones. At this time, all the forces really couldn't sit still. 30 billion top-quality spiritual stones was not a small amount. In the private room, which force was bidding? Is it the Holy Land of Hidden Giants? All the forces had this idea in their minds almost instantly. At this moment, Wangfu Bubai also had this idea in his mind, and he couldn't help but frown. If it was really the Holy Land of Hidden Giants, then he really had to think about it carefully. Although the Shangqing Palace is not afraid of these holy places of hidden giants, after all, behind the Shangqing Palace, there are also holy places of hidden giants as backers, but it is better to do less than to do more. Wangfu does not want to offend a treasure that has not yet been locked and whether it can be found. The Holy Land of Hidden Giants. At this moment, Wangfu Bubai turned his head and glanced behind him. The person behind him immediately understood, turned around and disappeared into the room. In just a moment, a figure appeared behind Wangfu Bubai and whispered something into his ear. The same major forces also received the news almost at the same time. After hearing the words of the person behind him, Wangfu Bubai murmured to himself. A handsome man in the Shantian realm, and a woman wearing a veil. Suddenly, Wangfu Bubai's eyes lit up, and he laughed out loud as if he remembered something. He looked towards the private room with a mocking look in his eyes. Who do you think this emperor is? If this emperor's guess is correct, why not ask the Demon Clan Empress to show up? With 30 billion top-quality spiritual stones, the Empress should know the rules of the treasure collection tower. At this moment, after hearing Wangfu Bubai's words, the other major forces seemed to have remembered the rumor, and they all turned their heads to look at the private room, wanting to see whether, as Wangfu Bubai had expected, it was really the Empress of the Demon Clan. As if sensing everyone's thoughts, the next moment, the window of the private room was pushed open, and a beautiful figure appeared by the window. Everyone was surprised to find that she was a woman with noble temperament and exquisite beauty. Her beautiful face was like a sculpture from the sky, exuding a gentle and elegant charm, which instantly attracted countless people. The young disciples of countless forces were all turned to stone, and many of them spoke involuntarily. So beautiful, so beautiful. This extremely beautiful woman is none other than Luo Qingshan, the demon empress who took off her veil. At this moment, even the Lord of the 10,000 Flowers Palace, Hua Shuiyan, was deeply amazed when she saw Luo Qingshan, and felt a little inferior. Looking at Luo Qingshan who appeared, Wangfu Bubai's eyes flashed with fire, his eyebrows were slightly raised, and his face was sarcastic. Does the Empress of the Demon Clan know the rules of the treasure building, maliciously increasing the price, and unable to pay for the spiritual stones, but there is a price to pay. Even if the Demon Clan has a little bit, the divine object that extends the lifespan for 50 years is probably not worth these 30 billion top-quality spiritual stones. Bar. At this moment, when he heard Wangfu's words of refusal, Mo Wuan frowned slightly. Just when he was about to say something, a calm voice rang out. You don't need to worry about whether the Demon Clan has spirit stones to pay. You can either give up or continue bidding. If there are no spirit stones in Shangqing Palace, don't waste my precious time. Also, the old man on the auction stage, it's been so long and no one has bid, so it's time to call out the countdown. Although I know that everyone wants to see the excitement, old man, what you should do yourself is don't forget it. At this moment, a young man with a handsome appearance and aloof temperament came to Luo Qingshan, hugged Luo Qingshan's waist, causing Luo Qingshan to roll his eyes, and said to Wang Fu Bubai and Mo Wuan below. Seeing this scene, everyone was shocked, and those young people even looked jealous. If looks could kill, Yi Xingqian at this moment might have been killed countless times by the looks of everyone below. Feeling the cultivation of this young man, and the fact that he was so close to the Demon Clan Empress, everyone had already thought that this man should be the Empress' husband, the Demon Clan Emperor, who had been secretly investigated by countless forces, Yi Xingqian. Mo Wuan didn't react until he heard Yi Xingqian's voice. He didn't know why, but when he heard Yi Xingqian calling him an old man, Mo Wuan not only wasn't angry, but felt happy in his heart. As if he had been recognized by a strong person, there was an incomparable honor in his heart. From the first moment he saw Yi Xingqian, there was a voice in his heart that kept warning him that he must not be messed with. This made Mo Wuan secretly shocked. The Demon Clan Emperor was by no means simple. After looking at Wang Fu without paying homage, Mo Wuan actually spoke directly. 30 billion top-quality spiritual stones, are there any bids? If there are no bids, this glazed green treasure seal belongs to this young master. Hearing Mo Wuan's words, Wang Fu Bubai frowned slightly and looked at Yi Xingqian with a look of ridicule and disdain. A mere ant in the Shantian realm, not a disciple of the so-called hidden giant Holy Land, dares to offer 30 billion. This emperor even doubts whether you, an ant, can come up with these 30 billion top-quality spiritual stones. If you can't, after a while, the demon tribe's face was really disgraced. Ha ha, ha ha. If Wang Fu doesn't worship, it can't be said that it's not sinister. The first is to tell all the forces that Yi Xingqian is not a disciple of the hidden giant Holy Land. The second is to tell Yi Xingqian that in his eyes Yi Xingqian is just an ant, and at the same time belittle the demon clan in front of all the forces in Shenhuang. After all, no matter what, Yi Xingqian is the emperor of the demon clan, and now he is called an ant. Isn't this a slap in the face of the demon clan? At this time, Luo Qingshan frowned slightly when she heard Wang Fu Bubai's mocking words. She was about to speak, but was stopped by Yi Xingqian. Yi Xingqian looked at Luo Qingshan with a smile on his face and said softly, "Madam, there is no need to be angry. Why bother with a mad dog? Since it is a mad dog, it must have no brains. If we encounter a mad dog and rapidly attack us, we should go back to this mad dog again. Isn't this ridiculous?" As soon as Yi Xingqian said these words, the entire treasure-gathering building fell silent for an instant, and everyone turned to stone. Everyone's eyes widened with a look of disbelief. At this moment, as soon as Yi Xingqian finished speaking, the entire treasure building fell silent for an instant, and everyone turned to stone. Everyone's eyes widened in disbelief. Then everyone in the treasure-gathering building turned red, and the expressions on their faces were extremely exciting. That expression was like being held back, looking at Wang Fu without bowing, wanting to laugh but not daring to laugh. Each corner of the mouth kept twitching, it was as funny as it was. At this moment, Wang Fu's face was flushed, his hands clenched involuntarily, and his silver teeth clenched, making a squeaking sound. A terrifying killing intent spurted out from Wang Fu Bubai's body and pressed directly in the direction of Yi Xingqian. At this moment, dark clouds were covering the entire treasure building, lightning and thunder were blowing, and strong winds were blowing. The sky instantly became gloomier than the night, as if all the light had been swallowed up, leaving only endless terrifying murderous intent. When the immortal emperor was angry, the color of the world changed. At this moment, all the people watching the excitement outside the treasure building were shocked, and their eyes looked in the direction of the treasure building with horror. This terrifying murderous intention even made those who were not strong enough outside the treasure-gathering building tremble all over and couldn't help but slowly kneel down. What's going on? What happened in the treasure collection building? How could there be such terrifying murderous intent? Does anyone dare to do something in the treasure collection building? A man who gathered outside Jubao building to watch the excitement exclaimed. Something big has happened. News just came out from the treasure collection building that the Demon Clan Emperor and the Lord of the Shangqing Palace, Wangfu Bubai, are at odds with each other. This terrifying murderous intention is emanating from Wangfu Bubai. A man who had just learned the inside story said with a shocked expression. Monster Clan Emperor, Yi Xingqian, that human man who asked all the gods and desolate forces to secretly investigate. He also appeared in the treasure collection tower. That's right, and the two of them were bidding crazy for a treasure, and the spirit stones have reached a terrifying 30 billion. Hearing the conversation between the two, the people watching the excitement in the Jubao building around them suddenly exclaimed. 30 billion spiritual stones. What kind of divine object is it that can make people go crazy to this extent? You must know that even the top forces can rarely come up with 30 billion top-quality spiritual stones. Haha, this isn't the most surprising thing. Do you know what is the most surprising thing? Haha. At this moment, the people around them suddenly became interested after hearing the conversation between the two, and they all looked at the two curiously. Seeing everyone's attention, the man was very pleased. He grinned and said, that Demon Clan Emperor Yi Xingqian, who is only in the Shantian realm, actually called the master of the Shangqing Palace, Wangfu Bubai, a dog. Haha, you think it's quite exciting. As soon as these words came out, everyone was shocked. The powerful immortal emperor was actually so humiliated by an innate realm. No wonder he would send out such shocking murderous intent. But the man's eyes suddenly widened, his face full of horror, his whole body was shaken, and he shouted. Sir, spare my life. As soon as he finished speaking, he suddenly spurted out several mouthfuls of blood, and his whole body slumped instantly. The breath of life on his body quickly passed away, and he slowly fell down. A majestic voice came from the air. The Lord of Shangqing Palace is also an ant like you. If you can talk about it as you like, you should be killed. At this moment, seeing the man who looked proud just now turned into a corpse in an instant, all the people watching the excitement suddenly changed their expressions and lowered their heads one by one, fearing that they would be the next to die. There was silence all around the treasure collection building for an instant, and no one even dared to look at the dead man. This is the tyranny of the top power, no one can touch it. The screen changed to inside the treasure building. Wangfu ignored the terrifying murderous intention and pressed directly in the direction of Yi Xingqian. On the other hand, Yi Xingqian stood there with a calm face, as if he didn't feel anything. Just when the terrifying murderous intent came to Yi Xingqian's room, Luo Qingxian waved his hand, and the terrifying murderous intent disappeared instantly. It was as if it had never appeared before. When Wangfu Bubai saw this scene, he frowned slightly and looked at Luo Qingxian with anger on his face. He actually raised his hand slightly. A heaven-destroying power slowly gathered in Wangfu Bubai's hands, causing the expressions of the major forces in the treasure building suddenly changed drastically. When Luo Qingxian saw Wangfu Bubai's power that destroyed the world, he was also shocked. A terrifying aura burst out of his body, and he looked at Wangfu Bubai with a calm expression. At this critical moment, Mo Wuan's majestic words rang out. It is forbidden to use force in the treasure collection building. If found, we will directly suppress them and drive them out of the treasure collection building. As soon as Mo Wuan finished speaking, several powerful immortal emperors in the entire treasure-gathering building exuded powerful momentum at the same time, faintly isolating Wangfu Bubai and Luo Qingxian. Feeling these powerful auras, Wangfu Bubai's eyes flashed with light, and he glanced at Yi Xingqian again, and the heaven-destroying energy in his hand slowly disappeared. The terrifying aura on Luo Qingxian's body also disappeared. The powerful men in the treasure-gathering hall breathed a sigh of relief. Glancing at Luo Qingxian, Wangfu refused to bow and heard a voice full of murderous intent. HMPH. The Emperor has recorded this in the ledger, the Emperor of the Demon Clan. Haha, that's interesting. Hearing Wangfu Bubai's murderous words, Yi Xingqian seemed to have no feeling and said disdainfully. TCH. You'd better not remember this young master. It would be better if she is a beautiful woman. If a beast is thinking about her, I will not be able to sleep. Hearing Yi Xingqian's words, Luo Qingxian burst out laughing. She unexpectedly discovered that her husband had such a humorous side. She couldn't help but give Yi Xingqian a charming look, with a smile on her face. After giving Luo Qingxian a gentle look, Yi Xingqian's voice rang out again. There was a sense of supreme dominance in his voice, and an aura of superiority that shocked everyone swept through the entire treasure building. Since you spread the news and asked my wife to come to apologize and become a joke in the eyes of all the forces in Shenhuang, the Shangqing Palace is destined to decline in the hands of you, Wangfu Bubai. At this moment, the entire treasure-gathering building was once again shocked by Yi Xingchen. Looking into Yi Xingchen's eyes, he was full of surprise. This terrifying superior aura could not be exuded by a person in the Shantian realm. Everyone looked at Yi Xingchen with deep thoughts in their eyes. At this time, in the private room where the 10,000 Flowers Palace was located, Hua Shuiyan looked at Yi Xingchen with curiosity, a smile flashed deep in her eyes. For some reason, this demon emperor impressed Hua Shuiyan. Profound. At this moment, hearing Yi Xingchen's extremely domineering words and the astonishing aura of a superior, Wangfu Bubai had no expression on his face, but was secretly shocked in his heart. This child is by no means as simple as he seems on the surface. He does not have such a domineering momentum in the Shantian realm. However, other forces are becoming more and more interested in the auction held by the Yaozu in the next few days. Since the mysterious emperor of the Yaozu has such confidence, he dares to completely break up with the Shangqing Palace. It seems that life-extending divine items are 100% available, and there will be a lot of them. There is no fear of the threat of elixirs from Shangqing Palace. If this is true, even in the future, even in the Shenhuang continent, except for the hidden giants and Holy Land forces, Shangqing Palace is no longer the only one. At this moment, those top forces who have been bullied by Shangqing Palace look at the private room where Shangqing Palace is located, with inexplicable rays of light in their eyes. At this moment, the entire treasure building was immersed in a strange atmosphere. As if feeling the light in the eyes of the major forces around him, Wangfu snorted lightly. HMPH. It's okay to brag, but don't shoot yourself in the foot. It won't end well when the time comes. Let's hand over 30 billion of the best spiritual stones first. Hearing Wangfu's words of refusal, the surrounding major forces also turned to look at Yi Xingchen. But seeing Yi Xingchen smiling, what he said made Mo Wuan's face darken, and all the major forces around him frowned at the same time. But Wangfu couldn't help but burst out laughing, as if he was letting out a breath of bad breath, and his eyes were full of contempt. At this moment, Yi Xingchen was seen with a smile on his face, looking at everyone calmly, and said, "He, 30 billion top-quality spiritual stones, I really don't have that many." As soon as Yi Xingchen finished speaking, Mo Wuan's face darkened, and all the major forces around him frowned at the same time. But Wangfu couldn't help but burst out laughing, as if he was letting out a breath of bad breath, and his eyes were full of contempt. Ha, what do you mean by this emperor? You are an ant. If you don't have strength, don't pretend. Be careful to shoot yourself in the foot. For 30 billion spiritual stones, the demon clan will probably have to sell iron to pay for it. The demon clan has such an emperor, so I guess there aren't many divine objects that can extend lifespan. Oh, by the way, there may not be any. After all, this bullshit has brought the entire Shenhuang forces here. The demon clan can't. How does it end? Looking at the calm Yi Xingchen, Wangfu Bubai wiped away his previous unhappiness and said with a mocking expression, "If the demon empress opens her mouth, I can lend you some spiritual stones, ha. At this moment, Luo Qingshan, who was standing next to Yi Xingchen, ignored Wangfu Bubai and looked at Yi Xingchen with a smile on his face. Luo Qingshan knows her husband best. Whatever her husband says, he will definitely do it. This kind of trust comes from the heart and has never been doubted. At this moment, feeling Luo Qingshan's thoughts, Yi Xingchen glanced at Luo Qingshan tenderly and gave Luo Qingshan a reassuring look. In the private room where Wanhua Temple was located, Hua Shuiyan looked at Yi Xingchen, who had a calm face, and for some reason, she unexpectedly said, "If the demon clan emperor lacks spiritual stones, Wanhua Divine Palace can lend them to the demon clan." At this moment, all the forces looked in the direction of the 10,000 Flowers Palace with expressions of disbelief. Wangfu even frowned slightly as he looked into the depths of Hua Shuiyan's eyes, and a flash of light disappeared. Yi Xingchen was also slightly startled, and turned to look in the direction of Hua Shuiyan. Yi Xingchen really did not expect that he and the Lord of the 10,000 Flowers Palace, who had never met before, would actually ask to help him. But as soon as Hua Shuiyan finished speaking, her heart started beating violently. Hua Shuiyan herself didn't know why she said such a sentence. The face that was always beautiful and cool could not help but be stained with a layer of red clouds. At this moment, Yi Xingqian nodded in the direction of Hua Shuiyan and said, "Thank you, Empress of 10,000 Flowers, for taking it in my heart, but the demon clan can still use this spiritual stone." Hearing Yi Xingqian's words, for some reason, Hua Shuiyan felt faintly disappointed. She glanced at Yi Xingqian, nodded, and stopped talking. Luo Qingshan on the side looked in the direction of Hua Shuiyan, with an indescribable look in her eyes. Suddenly, Wang Fu's voice sounded again, his eyes filled with contempt. "Ha ha ha, it's so funny. I just said that I don't have 30 billion spiritual stones, and then I turned around and said that I can get it, the demon emperor, ha ha. It's interesting, so capricious, it seems that the god you want to extend your life is, I'm afraid it's going to come to nothing." As soon as Wang Fu said no, other forces in the treasure building frowned slightly. At this time, Yi Xingqian's voice rang out, and he looked at the proud-looking Wang Fu Bubai, with the corners of his mouth slightly raised, as if looking at a clown jumping up and down, full of ridicule. "This beast always likes to jump up and down. I think you all have seen enough of it. After all, it can make the beasts in the immortal emperor realm jump up and down like animals. I think you have never seen it. But please take a look, don't talk nonsense everywhere." At this moment, the entire treasure building was silent. All the powerful people had strange looks on their faces. Some eyebrows kept beating, some mouth corners twitched, and some even sat back on their chairs, holding their stomachs. A look of despair. PFF, two chuckles rang out. It was Luo Qingshan who was beside Yi Xingqian. She couldn't help laughing and gave her husband a charming look. And the other chuckle turned out to be from Hua Shuiyan. At this moment, feeling everyone's gaze, Hua Shuiyan also glared at Yi Xingqian. Her beautiful face was covered with red clouds, and she turned around and sat back on the chair in the private room. At this moment, Wang Fu refused to bow and looked at the reactions of everyone in the treasure building. The anger on his face could not be concealed at all. The shocking murderous intention caused the temperature of the treasure building to drop a lot in an instant. HMPH, in a dispute of words, ants are just ants after all, and they can't get into the spotlight. Without spiritual stones, any words will only make people look down upon you even more. Bang, sound. Before Wang Fu could finish his words, Yi Xingqian waved his hand, and hundreds of thousands of top-quality fairy stones exuding a strong fairy spirit fell onto the auction table. And Yi Xingqian's voice also came. "I said that 30 billion top-grade spiritual stones are indeed not enough, but I never said that top-grade immortal stones are not enough." At this moment, Yi Xingqian looked at Wang Fu Bubai, who was staying where he was, with mockery in his eyes. The entire treasure building, all the forces, looked at the sudden appearance of hundreds of thousands of top-grade immortal stones that exuded light fluorescence, and their eyes were full of shock. Mo Wuan ducked in front of these top-grade immortal stones that exuded a strong aura of immortal spirits. His consciousness swept away, and then he looked at Yi Xingqian, his eyes full of excitement. "Yi Dizin, these 400,000 top-grade immortal stones are used to pay for 30 billion top-grade spiritual stones. It is completely enough, and even far more than that. This." Hearing Mo Wuan's words, the entire treasure building instantly boiled, but Yi Xingqian smiled slightly and said, "Haha, old man, that's enough. Please collect the top-quality fairy stones and send them the glazed blue treasure seal." Hearing Yi Xingqian's calm words, Mo Wuan waved his hand, collected hundreds of thousands of top-quality immortal stones, and said excitedly, "Congratulations to Emperor Yi, who bid 400,000 yuan for the best immortal stone and successfully bought the glazed green seal. This seal belongs to Emperor Yi." As soon as Mo Wuan finished speaking, he nodded towards the hot-looking woman. The woman immediately came to the private room where Yi Xingqian was, and respectfully handed the ancient wooden box containing the glazed green seal to Yi Xingqian's hands, then gave a slight salute and disappeared in a flash. Looking at the treasure seal exuding divine light, Yi Xingqian smiled slightly, then sent the glazed green treasure seal to Luo Qingshan and said softly, "Madam, I give this to you. After a while of refining, Madam's strength will increase a lot. If you see a beast or a dog in the future, just use the treasure seal and smash it to death." Luo Qingshan's eyes were full of excitement when she looked at the glazed green treasure seal that exuded divine light in front of her. Husband, this is for Shanur. But it's too expensive. Seeing the excitement in Luo Qingshan's eyes, Yi Xingqian stretched out his hand and touched Luo Qingshan's blue hair gently, saying softly, Madam, have you forgotten what your husband once said? Nothing in the world is as good as a strand of your hair, any treasure, or your gentle smile. Hearing her husband's words, Luo Qingshan's eyes were filled with emotion. She glanced at Yi Xingqian tenderly, and then happily took the glazed green seal. At this moment, the entire Jubao Tower heard Yi Xingqian's words and looked at Yi Xingqian with eyes full of thoughtfulness. The demon clan emperor is indeed in the innate realm, but that kind of supreme domineering power is definitely not something ordinary people can exude. Also, with a wave of his hand, he can take out the best immortal stone that is extremely rare in the Shenhuang continent. This person's identity is by no means simple. At this moment, all the forces turned their heads and looked back, saying, Check, we must find out the true identity of the demon clan emperor. Since he is not a disciple of the hidden giant in the Holy Land, he must be a force on the Shenhuang continent, unless this sun fell from the sky. But Wang Fu refused to bow, and took a deep look at Yi Xingqian, then turned around and said, Send the news back. Is there a hidden giant in the Holy Land or a hidden family with the surname Yi? This sun is too mysterious. When the news comes back, if not, this emperor will definitely make this sun unable to survive. Please, you can't die. An astonishing killing intent flashed across Wang Fu Bubai's eyes. When Hua Shuiyan heard Yi Xingqian's words, she looked at the excited Luo Qingshan, sighed slightly, and there was a trace of imperceptible loss in her eyes. What's wrong with me? Is the demon clan emperor my calamity, as the ancestor said? If not, why would I, who has always been calm, be like this? Hua Shuiyan was extremely uneasy at the moment. She glanced at Yi Xingqian and slowly closed her eyes. Her brows were slightly furrowed, showing that her mood at the moment was not peaceful. Just when everyone was shocked, Mo Wuan's voice sounded. Everyone, this second treasure is now up for auction. As soon as Mo Wuan finished speaking, a woman with the same hot figure walked up, holding a tray in both hands. At this moment, the eyes of all the women in the treasure collection building lit up and they were instantly attracted. Some women even exclaimed, There is such a thing in treasure building. Blue Frost Flower Wrist. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.